You don't? Okay. No,
Okay, welcome to the Tokerville City Council meeting here at the Tokerville City Council Chambers. It is May 6th, 2026 at 6 p.m. Present is Councilman Chambers, Councilman Holmes, Councilwoman Chamberlain, Councilwoman Valpessa, Councilman Sands, and you're going to have to remind me. Attorney
Gothard.
Attorney Gothard, thank you. All right, we'll call this order to meeting. We will have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Olson and statements of opening prayer by Councilwoman Pressler.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our eternal Father in heaven, we are so very grateful to be here tonight to represent the citizens of Tokerville. We're grateful for the wonderful city that we live in and pray that thou will guide our hand as we discuss the items on the agenda tonight. Guide and direct us to do the things that are best in the interest of the city and its citizens. We're grateful for all the blessings that we receive from living in this area and pray that thy spirit will continue to bless our area with more water as we need it so desperately. We say these things in the name of thy son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Okay, we'll move to B, approval of the agenda. Item 1, approval of the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda order.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 2, disclosures and declarations of conflicts of interest from any council members or mayor. I have none.
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 Okay, item D, department reports. Ash Creek Special Service District Representative, Mr. Mike Campbell.
No.
Oh, what did I skip?
Consent.
Consent, all right. We did the approval, now we're going to do the consent. All right. Item C, review and possible approval of meeting minutes from April 16, 2026, city council meeting. Everybody have a chance to review the minutes?
Yeah, the only thing I've seen was that it's April 15th minutes, not April 16th on our agenda.
Yeah.
The minutes are correct.
Yeah. That was the only thing I saw.
So the agenda is incorrect in the minutes were. Okay,
Just the date
Yeah.
here on it, yeah.
okay, do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the meeting minutes from April 15th, 2026 city council
A
meeting.
motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 2, review and possible approval of city expenditures from March 2026. Did everybody get a chance to go through those?
I did,
Any questions for,
yeah.
okay?
What are we still paying Stanley Consulting $21,000 for?
It's still related to construction engineering management on the Parkway construction project as they kind of facilitate the wrap up of that. And the billing period, luckily we have Ruth here, for the most recent billing, would that be February?
Yeah, they're a few months behind.
And it's probably,
They're funded until August this year.
Just sits in the office and collects money then, because nothing's happening out there.
Well, part of that was I actually took them out and we did an inspection on the shoulders and road edges on the highway out there. So
$21,000?
not, no, I'm just saying part of that was taking them out on that. What the rest of it would have to look at an itemized list.
some of it's coordinating those change orders for the guardrail and the paint striping with the contractor as well as UDOT.
Yeah, this is from 3 months ago, right? From February?
Yeah, but that would be some of the things that you're gonna see continuing.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the city expenditures from March 2026.
I second the motion.
Let's do a roll call. Councilman Chambers? Councilman
Campbell.
Campbell?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passes. Now we'll move on to D, Ash Creek Special Service District Representative, Mr. Mike Chandler.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, we are in the process of commissioning our Confluence Park treatment plant. We cut over our Laverton pump station today, so we are fully cut off from the south side. If we want to rename it something other than Ash Creek, we've named Ash Creek the districts because Hurricane and Laverton and Tocqueville couldn't agree on a name back in the day. But now we have a north and a south service area officially. No more flow crossing the river. And we look forward to having you out there. Hopefully we can schedule a site visit, maybe a work meeting in the near future. We're already getting phenomenal results out of the facility. Treatment has really only been going for about the last 36 hours, but it's gone really well. In addition to that, we continue to see expansion of the collection system, both at the DR Horton project, Tocqueville Firelight, and Silver Cliffs. We've continued inspections there. We've continued coordination with the Solar Group as and looking forward to the Planning Commission meeting next week. I'll be sending a message over to Ben just regarding our stance, really from as a preview, whether they're in the unincorporated county or in Tocqueville, it still falls under our purview. So we'll be working with them either way. So that's kind of Ash Creek's stand on that particular development and developer. In addition to that, we are in the process of securing funding. So we go to a public hearing. Hopefully you saw a little postcard or something in the mail come through with your bills that talked about our hearing at the end of the month at our regularly scheduled meeting for the Virgin pipeline and pump stations. That will not necessitate any kind of a rate increase because that cost will be covered by those participating from Virgin in that project. So the funding mechanism will be the users up in Virgin paying for that debt service over the course of the years that we have there. So we don't anticipate any funding requirements from our 3 existing cities. But once we complete the public hearing, we adopted our parameters resolution last board meeting. And so we hope to be bidding that project out early July. That's what we'd like. We'd like to see work starting in that early to late fall. And really, that's kind of the next big project that we have on the horizon at this moment. We're continuing to coordinate with the Conservancy District on our harmful algal bloom mitigation for future harmful algal bloom mitigation at Chief Tocqueville Reservoir. Really, as we work with the state on our discharge permit, any of those sorts of things. All of the water bodies across the state are kind of receiving that scrutiny right now. What are the inputs coming in? What is the potential for any harmful use? Particularly with Tocqueville's interest in recreational use out there, as well as the city's continued development of that plan. So I think we've had people at our last meeting, I believe, on the recreation site.
Just coming up tomorrow.
Oh, it's tomorrow. I'm preempting.
I'm hoping tomorrow.
I've coordinated with Matt. He will be there. So we're excited about getting and participating there as well, but we'll continue to take input and work with the city and provide any updates that we see from a permitting standpoint as far as Chief Tocqueville Reservoir as well. I think in a nutshell, that kind of covers things on this north side for us service area, and I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Mike, I know down the road, you've got the plan for the demonstration thing where it's going to purify the drinking water quality. Is there plans for the public to be able to tour the reuse plant at all like we did when it first opened, or?
Yeah, so that will be done in conjunction with the Conservancy District. They'll be heading that portion of the project. Their pump station, as it feeds up to the new pipeline and pond in the Laverton Cottonwood Hollow subdivision, that's a little lateral coming off of that main pipeline. So once that is in place, then the plans for the demonstration facility continue to move forward. I'm sure Zach could probably give you an update a little later, maybe if there's still a question, but that is intended to be both a public education and outreach facility in conjunction with a conservation garden, some demonstration facilities, not only for advanced water purification, but also helping people with their local landscaping and water conservation measures at home as well.
But the reuse plant itself, is there going to be any tours or no?
There will, yeah. No, as they come through, I think the intent is that it is for public education and outreach. And so whether it's school kids, adult groups, city councils, general public, I'm sure they'll be scheduling that through their offices and things that way. That will be headed up by the Conservancy District.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, thanks, Mike.
Oh, I apologize. I did have one other thing.
Okay,
We did have a little bit of an upset down on Ash Creek Drive. That's an old system that came in early down by the Eaton, Stacy Eaton's, and on the circle there's about 5 homes on an old pressure system there. One of those laterals was not aware that it was stubbed up. It had been hit in the past. We came in, repaired that for them, although the original agreement was that the homeowners had that responsibility. But where that system sits just above Ash Creek Springs, we got that cleaned up quick, thankfully, and we've got that all mapped and taken care of. And I think for the time being, and really for the foreseeable future, we fixed that in a way where that kind of a failure can't occur again. But from time to time, we'll have those sorts of things take place. I'll try to keep you apprised if we do have any of those. We call those SSOs, sanitary sewer overflows. Typically, they're small and contained. When we get a bad one, I usually like to let the council know as well. But this one was fairly well contained, and we were able to get it fixed in a short time frame.
is that part of the line that's eventually going to have to be upsized? Or
No, these are private service laterals, all on a common pumped main. So it feeds into that line that will need to be upsized, but that portion of the line itself only takes on about 5 homes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Hurricane Valley Fire District Chief Hooper.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me. Lot going on. We've been pretty busy this last month. Station 43 servicing this area, around 65 calls, 12 of those which were in Tokerville, and I think half of those were fire-related calls. So seems like when stuff starts to burn, it starts to burn. So we're still battling with the fire season ending early. Quite a few of our brush fires were actually caused from people doing illegal burns in their yard and then ended up catching a house or a shed on fire. So we're still out trying to enforce that. But the burn season hasn't ended this early in as long as I can remember. So I recently acquired a heavy rescue truck. I show you a picture, but we haven't painted it yet. It still says South Jordan Fire on it. But we're excited about that as we kind of branch into confined space rescue, trench rescue, structural collapse. Just with all the stuff going on, it's something we got to try to stay ahead of. So we're excited about that stuff. You may have seen us training at the end of Westfield Drive the other day. Nobody was hurt. But each of the three platoons do monthly rope training where we try to go out and have like a dummy mannequin and do like a rope rescue. Seems like more and more we're having that multiple times a month. We're having to go do that. So we want to be trained and ready for that. Our wildland teams are up and ready to go. We've got our seasonals on board and our REMS team ready to go. So I'm sure this fire season is getting ready to kick off with a boot. And other than that, I think that's all I've got for you guys. Unless you have any questions for me.
Can you pass on to your crew a thanks? For the little boy that went up was pretty excited. I guess they gave him stickers and.
Oh, right. Yeah, absolutely. I'll pass that along.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Chaves.
I had one of my guests that injured herself in my Airbnb, and she wanted me to commend the fire department for the response time, the way they treated her. I have to commend the fire department. They cleaned up the mess as well.
Yeah. Awesome.
And it was late at night, so.
When was that, if you don't mind me asking? Do you have a
that
date?
was, maybe Saturday night.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was on.
Midnight.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I did hear that call. That's my crew, so I'll let them know.
She called me twice and then made sure that I let the fire department know they did a great job.
Okay. Yeah, I'll pass that on. Yeah, I always appreciate good feedback, so thank you.
Any questions for the chief? Okay, thank you, chief.
Thanks.
Okay, Assistant City Manager, Mr. Darren Lefevre.
Okay, we are still having a little bit of construction going on. If you haven't noticed, a little bit of dust here and there. But we have the one subdivision with Boulder Ridge is completing, or getting close to completion. They're getting their offsite utilities connected and getting a lot of the little tiny punch list items completed. We do have a couple of little things that we're doing with mitigation on the asphalt. So we're working with the geotechs and the contractor and developer to remedy those situations and those concerns. The BLM right-of-way acquisition for Silver Cliffs, it is complete, signed by the BLM and the city. So Silver Cliffs now has that right-of-way acquisition north of the the Devil's
Devil's
Hole.
Hole.
Sorry, I wanted to call the Boulder's Hole. But, yeah, Devil's Hole. Anyway, so they're, starting to go forward with that. They've got applications before us, for their MPDO and that type of stuff, which, Emily and we'll talk about later, I think, at a different time. So then basically we do, one thing you've got on your agenda, just to kind of talk about, is one of the, agenda, or is the stream bank cleanups that we've got. That was one of our objectives, last year for, strategic planning objectives. That'll be down at the city park. And I'll let you announce that at the end of the meeting today. So it's on the agenda. Talk about that because we talked about trying to get that cleaned up. We're going to use the guys to do a lot of stuff, so we won't have to be using any type of chainsaws. It'll just be strictly cleanup. And so volunteers will be greatly appreciated to show up, help us get the stuff out of the stream. That way we don't violate any type of FEMA requirements or anything such as that. So, and I believe, well, it's on your agenda. So the Parkway, just want to give you a real quick update on the Parkway, on those guardrails, the paint stripes, and anything there. Basically, that went to UDOT a little over a month and a half ago-ish. And as of Monday, I started getting comments back from UDOT. And this is one of the things that Stanley is still working with UDOT with, to get the little tiny, I don't know, they're not petty, the requirements that UDOT requires for design and a few things like that had already been done. They just didn't realize that. So it goes to, so with UDOT, it has to go to their structures and their different departments that they have for approvals. They just want to make sure that that's all the, the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. So they're working on that with Bob to finish that up. As far as time frame to start, one thing that the UDOT has done is they have this thing called the Type F crash barriers across the state of Utah. They are changing those out across the state of Utah with it for the next 2 years. So for the next 2 years, they'll be doing that. And as part of our project, the Parkway project, I believe we have about 4 of those that are going to need to be done. And so they asked that we do another change order to replace those. So that'll be another thing that Bob will be working on, as well as myself with UDOT, to get those for another thing. And they kind of wanted to do it all at the same time to save money on a mob charge from the contractor. That's kind of what they're working towards. So also on the Parkway, the natural gas, originally they came down from the north end, and they are now trying to come up from the south end. They've got to the utility bridge on the south end, and there's been some discrepancies there of the weight. They had an actual existing conduit, and those conduits are, I think they've got a 12-inch, I can't remember exactly their size, but it's made out of steel, so they're extremely heavy when you span that far. And so there's a utility bridge there that has a bank abutments with concrete and rebar in it. And they came up with basically UDOT says, no, we're not going to let you do that. We're not going to let you bore through the concrete because you might go through a rebar and weaken the structure. So they came up with another idea, and that was of this morning, that natural gas is going to be proposing to the structures department at the UDOT. And so that they're working on that. So the reason I bring that up is just so that from that south end, natural gas will be coming up to feed the Indigo, the DR Horton subdivisions, is how that's feeding us from the bottom. So they're working on that. No approvals as of yet, just discussions on how that will affect that utility bridge and things. So other than that, the agenda item sheet, or the agenda item is the Westfield Park, and I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to it, unless anybody else has any other questions.
Anything for Derek? Okay. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
City Manager Ben Billingsley.
Just wanted to report, we had a great response on the community survey, that the Utah Wellbeing Survey hosted by the Utah State University, received a higher response rate than we anticipated, so it was very exciting. We will be, we'll see the report back in late summer is what they're saying. So The results will take some time before we see that. We'll probably have forgotten we did it, but excited that we had such high rate of participation from the community. I was recently invited to a roundtable at the state capitol with the state auditor regarding public infrastructure districts. I'm happy to report there was a successful outcome from that meeting. HB 507 essentially cleared the path for cities to remove those as discretely reported component units from our financial statements, which was a big relief. We will be seeing a proposed amendment to the governing documents of those 8 public infrastructure districts that we have in our community, hopefully before the end of the fiscal year, so that we can get that fully resolved. My final report is Ruth is with us this evening. I'd like to recognize her. She was recently appointed as director of the Utah Association of Public Treasurers. So
A director, not the director.
a director, fine. So I'd like to congratulate her there. That's all I have. Thank you.
Good job, Ruth.
Nice.
Any questions for Ben? Okay.
Good job, Ruth.
Presentation by the Washington County Water Conservancy District, Mr. Zach Renstrom. I put pressure on him. I told him we got a number of good comments about the last presentation we got from Ash Creek, so we expect at least as good or better.
Well, thank you, Mayor. And so I gave a presentation to several of the new mayors, and so that your mayor said to kind of come. Oh,
Do I really need this? Oh.
Yeah, you're on YouTube, so.
Oh, okay. So he asked me to give a similar presentation. So I'll go through these slides. Feel free to stop me, ask any questions. I don't have to get through it all, but this was just some of the things we were talking about and things that are going on here in our area. I always like to talk about the infrastructure we have. And so we have quite an extensive infrastructure here in Washington County to move water around. And so literally the pipes over in Ivins are connected to the pipes here in Tokerville. That's how interconnected we are. And it's because of these large infrastructure projects that we're able to move water around and store it. This is a unique year because last winter was very dry and this winter is also dry, but yet we're going to have safe, reliable drinking water here in this county. And it's because of this large infrastructure project. Some of the infrastructure that we're relying on is over 100 years old. And so I like to talk about how if it wasn't for the people before us building this big infrastructure, we would be in trouble today. And so it's upon us to make sure that we leave infrastructure for our kids moving forward. In fact, the person I replaced, Ron Thompson, that was the one thing he told me. He said, every generation in Washington County has built infrastructure for the next generation. And so your generation can't fail that, can't stop that change. And so I take that very seriously. And that's one of the reasons why we're building Chief Toker. This kind of a map showing where our actual pipes are located. As you can see, it actually goes all the way up to Gunlock. We have infrastructure up on Kolob, and we actually have infrastructure now up in New Harmony. So this is a little bit older of a map, but that's how we move water around where it's needed. A little bit about the water district. Some people ask how it was even created. Well, it was actually created by citizens. So citizens literally went door to door, knocking on doors and asking for signatures. They then took those signatures to a local judge. Now this was in the 60s, so it was a little different. And basically asked a judge to form a water district because at that time the cities were starting to fight over water and they couldn't get together. So yeah, just a couple of citizens. So a judge formed us. And a judge actually ran our water district for almost the first 20 years. And then Utah law caught up and we converted to a water conservancy district under Utah code now, and that's how we're operated. We provide water to 95% of the population in Washington County. And even those areas that our pipes aren't directly connected to, we do quite a bit of work for. So like, for example, Pine Valley. Right now we're up in Pine Valley doing a detailed study about their septic systems. Out in Hilldale, we're doing a study about where they can drill wells, the best place to locate those wells. And so anything in Washington County we care about and we try to help. The big thing what we operate under is what's called the Regional Water Supply Agreement. And that's kind of where most of the people live. Tokerville is part of that agreement. And basically it's a contract where we talk about how this system's going to operate and who's going to get the water. And it's worked very well for the last 20 years. That's one of the ways that we are able to collect the impact fees, set the rates and move the water around. Yeah, it's just worked really well and we'll continue to do that. where our water goes right now. So each city has so much water that they're able to do. So I'll use St. George City because there's the biggest graph you can see easy. So the blue chart shows how much water gets from their infrastructure. So that is from their wells and their water rights. And then the green portion is the amount of water that the Water Conservancy District wholesales to the cities. So if you look over at Tokerville, you pretty much are supplying all your own water, except for maybe a couple times. However, as all that development starts going off out there on the new road out there, this chart is going to change here pretty quickly, and you'll start looking like some of the other communities. So, and La Verkin's the same way. La Verkin, you can see they get a little bit more from us, but that's going to start changing as they develop. And that was just part of it, is that as it develops, we'll move that water around to where we need it. So it's interesting because you don't see Leeds on this. Leeds has made a petition to join the Regional Water Supply Agreement. The district came back with certain requirements, and they have not fulfilled those requirements yet. And so I assume shortly you'll probably see Leeds on that. One of the key things is that they have to start working with Mike with Ash Creek. And that was one of the big ones. And that seems to be the one that they get hung up on right now. I think Mike's a great guy, but
It's his board members.
it's his board members. So one of the great things about that agreement is that we actually make sure we meet a lot and talk a lot. And so there's two committees that are formed in that document. So the first one is the technical committee. That's where we just get the engineers together. We talk about technical things. Sometimes we talk about things as boring as the color of the fire hydrants meters. And we have more technical things there. Tokerville always shows up to that. Then every quarter, we meet what's called the AAC, the Administrative Advisory Committee. So your mayor's part of that, and also your city manager. And that's where we talk more about the policy issues that come up of like, what should we do? We only have a limited supply here, so what are we going to do with that limited supply? It's been a robust discussion. It's open to the public. We take minutes. We notice it up as a public meeting, and we have a lot of great discussions in that one about the policies. Some of the things that have come out of that is that we've done a lot of great things here in the county. So when we were talking about our water efficiency standards, in those meetings, we talked about what should they be and where that level should be. With our ultra water efficiency standards, the staff kind of came up with some ideas, and we took it to the AAC and said, give us your feedback. And they took a vote on it saying, yeah, these are reasonable standards for ultra efficient water standards. And so we'll continue to do that, bringing things forward there. I anticipate that meeting will continue to grow and become, I hope, more collaborative, because we're going to be facing some tough issues coming up here. I'll skip that. That one's one. Where does our water go? So this is where our water is going, pretty much is residential, almost 68% of it. And so a lot of our conservation is focused on residential, just because that's where our water is being used. And of that 68%, half of that is going outside on just our landscaping. Institutional, that's the schools and stuff like that. The other ones too, we're trying to work with those industries to do the most they can. The school district, for example, they've been a great partner. We went to them and we said, hey, we need you to help us. And so they actually did a water inventory of every single school they're going through. And sometimes it's as simple as changing leaking faucets. But they realized, hey, they're part of this community. And so we have a lot of that. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints reached out to us. And so they're starting to do landscape conversions around a lot of their church houses. And also their new buildings that they're building, they've agreed to these really high standards too. And so it's just great to see all that collaboration. And that's really rare, just so you know. I go to other communities and talk to them. That has not happened. All right, so I talk about the 20-year plan. So the number one question I receive all the time is, are we going to run out of water? It's funny because one day I went to the store and I told my wife I was going to run in and grab something. She didn't want to come with me. I come walking out like 45 minutes. She was not happy, but she said, what happened? And I was wearing my water district shirt. And I go to get a gallon of milk, and someone stopped me and wanted to ask me a lot of questions, and I was happy to answer it. Then I got to the checkout stand. It was the same thing. And the question is where's the water coming from? And so So this is where it's coming from. So to kind of explain it, that dashed line is growth. So if all the cities got together and said, we're not issuing any more building permits, that line would be completely flat. But that dashed line is based upon what the Kim C. Gardner Institute with the University of Utah is estimating. We also reached out to the cities and took over and we says, what do you think you're going to permit in the next 20 years? And we put all that data together and created that line. That line is the slope of that line is assuming that we will continue to build the most water efficient homes in the Western United States. If all of a sudden that changes, that line will change. If we do better, if we do like build more ultra water efficient homes, then that slope will go down. But pretty much the two biggest colors on that, the blue is conservation and new projects, excuse me, and we're doing a good job with that. But then we get into the green line, and that's the reuse water. And basically that's where we're going to take water that has been right now going down to Lake Mead, and Las Vegas gets it. We're going to start utilizing that water some more, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. I like this graph here too because it shows that over 55% of our future water is going to be coming from this reuse system. I got to give a call out to Mike Chandler and Ash Creek because they have been amazing. They're partners with us on that. Mike comes to these technical meetings and he has been amazing in working with us through all that, making sure everything that happens has been really good. St. George Cities also are the technical partner because they also have a treatment plant, and that's just been really positive collaboration. It's been great to have them part of that. So with our reuse, we have done it a little bit down in St. George, but we're going to expand it. And so the black lines are existing reuse lines that we can just tap into, but the yellow ones are new lines that we're going to have to build. And so right now we're going through the environmental review process to get permission to put those lines in. It also requires new reservoirs. So we have Chief Toker up there. That's under construction, and of course, eventually Warner Valley. So we own the land for Warner Valley. The thought is we're going to build the pipelines that help us move water around. And then when it basically becomes time, economically and engineering feasible, it is feasible, excuse me. It's time to build it. Basically, we will build Warner Valley, but it'll already be plumbed in. With reuse, there's two phases of that. So the first phase of that is we're going to do ag conversion. And so, for example, right now, the springs here, the majority of that spring water is going to the farmers' fields. And so we're going to swap them. And so the spring water up here will become 100% drinkable. Well, it's already drinkable, excuse me. It will be all diverted to the water system to drink that instead of going out onto the fields. And then the fields, they're going to get the water from Chief Toker, which will be part of that will be reuse water. And so we're also looking at doing that on Santa Clara and Ivans. So Gunlock Reservoir right now is 100% irrigation. In about 10 years, that will be converted to be a complete drinking water reservoir. And we'll make that water up to those irrigators to reuse. And also, we're also working with Hurricane to do the same thing with the Hurricane Canal Company. And we just did this also with Lavercan. We just signed an agreement with them that we're going to start doing some exchanges with them. And so in Lavercan here, probably in about a year, we're going to see their infrastructure start getting ripped out, their secondary irrigation system get all completely replaced. And the Virgin River water that they're using in that system will now be switched over to reuse. And then we'll take that Virgin River water, put it in the Sand Hollow and Quail Reservoir, treat it, and then we can pump it back up to the communities. I'm going really fast but if you have questions, just let me know. This is kind of a nifty map that we like to show people. We take water out of the Virgin River, we stick it in our reservoirs, we treat it to drinking water standards, we send it to our communities, it goes through reclamation. I send it to Mike. Mike takes that water and he puts it back into the system. Sometimes we use a little bit of irrigation, but that line going to the river is going to shrink to just the minimum fish flow, and we're going to start redirecting to irrigation. We're going to have to add some lakes in there, but eventually we're going to have to get to what's called an advanced purification system. That's where we take the water, we treat it to a very, very high standard. We'll probably put it back into Sand Hollow and Quail Reservoir to store it, and then we'll send it back through the system. So the number one thing, we'll have to add that infrastructure, but I talked that. But the number one question I get about reuse is the ick factor. So I can tell you, everybody in this room has probably drank reuse water and you didn't even know it. So if you've been to Disneyland, you've drank reuse water, just so you know. Even if you drink Coke, like you get a Coke drink at Disneyland, that water in that Coke can in Los Angeles, it uses, what they do is they take municipal reuse water, they treat it, they put a little syrup in it, and then they bottle it and sell it to you. And so that's why I can say with a lot of assurance, you've already been drinking it. It's technology that's been used throughout the Western United States, with almost the entire world. Why it's not done more often is because of the cost. There's a very high cost to it. That's why we haven't done it yet. But when it gets to the bottom of the well, then you have to do something else. And so that's what we're doing with it is we don't have any options left. So that's why we're going to that.
What do you think your timeline is till you get to that point?
So we're already using it. We're starting to ramp up. So St. George is going to make some changes. I mean, right now, Mike is doing some changes, but when we get, so that's the first phase. The second phase, I would say in about 15 years-ish. And so that will depend on two things, is how fast we grow and how we do with water conservation. So, and it kind of, I just kind of talked about our water conservation. If we continue to conserve, then it's just going to push that off. So these plants, the advanced water treatment plant, we're looking at almost $500 million to build that. And so that's a massive cost. And so if we can push that cost out, and then that'll be a positive thing to do. And so that's one of the reasons why we're focusing a lot on water conservation. So another question I get all the time is are they going to make me tear my lawn out? And the answer is no. No one's going to force you to tear your lawn out. If you're a citizen here and you've had your grass and it's been there, then you're going to still have it. I haven't heard of any proposals. I haven't heard of anybody saying that they're going to mandate grass removal. If you want to change, there's incentives. Now, if you're going to build a new home, it does have to meet those new standards. But if you have your existing grass, you can keep it, you can use it. But what we're noticing at that is that our grass rebate program is responsible for over 50% of the grass rebates in the state of Utah. It's been widely accepted as very positive. We track it. And the number one reason why people are doing it is because they don't want to mow lawn anymore. The hashtag is get your Saturdays back, is that we don't want to do that. And so we've also noticed with the demographic, it's generally people in their 30s and 20s that are taking more advantage of it because they don't want to mow lawn. So I guess that's what we kind of see. So I want to talk about this large water use policy. It's kind of been a unique thing in the state of Utah. We took it to the AAC. So basically what was happening is an entity would come in to our community and want something like a golf course. And so a lot of times the cities were saying, well, you need to go talk to Zach. And so they would come talk to me and they said, I want to build a golf course. And I'd say, no. Or something else. So I became the no person, and it's just not, that doesn't work very well. It needs to be more open. And plus people were yelling at me a lot. So we came up with this large water use policy. The other reason, besides not me getting beat up all the time, but we did have an instance where an entity went to one of our regional water supply agreement cities, and they wanted to build a water bottling company, and they were going to use millions of gallons, almost 1 million gallons of water a month. That city said, we don't have the excess water. That same bottling company was then courted by another city. Well, the problem is it's all the same water. Like, we can move it. And so there started being some friction there. So we came up with this large water. It's if an entity comes in and says, we want to build a community that's going to use over 9 million gallons of water. Now, with Tokerville, it's a little unique because it's 5 million. They basically have to go in from the AAC board and make their sales pitch, for lack of a better word. They got to explain why using that much water in this community would be worth it. And there could be some uses. Like, for example, the hospital uses 35 million gallons of water a year right now. And so if there was something like equivalent to a hospital, or maybe a business that's going to bring in huge value, that would go to the AEC and your city would get a vote on it. So even if St. George City wanted to do something or hurricane, your city would have say in what we're going to do with that water. What I've noticed is since that has passed, I haven't had one request for these large water. No one's come to me to talk to me about it. And no one's actually even made application to the board for high water use thing. And so it's interesting how it's just weeding out a lot of people right at the very beginning.
Zach, I don't know if you know the answer to this with what's going on in Box Elder County with the data center. They're saying it's a completely different data center than what they have back east, where it's water cooled versus electric cooled.
So yeah, so what they do is so they produce a massive amount of heat. And so there's two ways they deal with it basically. One is evaporative cooling. And so basically they take a traditional AC unit and combine it with a swamp cooler. And it just uses a lot of water. The other option that they can do is go straight to an AC unit. And so that's more like just your typical AC unit on your house. Well, the reason why they want to do evaporative cooling is because the power demands are almost 3 times more to go with just AC. And so they say, well, we'd rather use water than use electricity. And so that data center is claiming, and I don't know all the details, but a lot of the data centers are claiming, saying, we won't use evaporative cooling, we'll use just AC. The problem is that's a lot of electricity. And so that's something they have to work out with that. The other area that they want to use a lot of water is, so a lot of these data companies are recognizing they just can't tap into the grid, so they want to make their own electricity. So I know the one up in Box Elder, they're claiming that they're going to put in generators and burn natural gas to create it. Well, the problem is to create electricity through that still requires a vast amount of water to make electricity with that system. And so it's kind of tough. You have to use water to make electricity for the most time, but to save water, yeah. And so it's just that back and forth that they're having. So the one that I heard of a data center coming here in Washington County, now it was very speculative. I got it, like no one's voted on it. What they were claiming is that they were going to create a small modular nuclear reactor, and I'm not a nuclear scientist, but they wanted to use a system that did not require a lot of electricity or a lot of water. And then they said the data center would be AC cooled. And I was like, well, okay, I that sounds interesting, but I don't know enough about it. So that's just a quick rundown. Mayor, I don't know if you wanted me to add anything specific or if anyone has any questions.
Questions, folks, from the audience?
Yeah.
So Zach, have we ever considered, since that we have got a pipeline that goes all the way up to New Harmony, have we ever considered tapping in with Iron County and buying some water from them? Wholesale water? So
Iron County, if I went up to Iron County and tried to take water out of Iron County, I would be lynched. And the problem is the water table in Cedar City is dropping. So they created what's called the groundwater management area. And so the existing water rights in the Cedar Valley area, the state engineer is going to start doing curtailment on those. And so not only the water that they have is going to start being reduced, if I went up there and started buying water out of that, I think it'd be a really nasty fight. So.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah.
The other thing, now at this point in time, Tokerville has enough water to serve our immediate needs.
You're current, yes.
You mentioned that we're going to have to be purchasing water from the district down the road.
Oh, yeah, you do a little tiny bit right now, but yeah, that's going to grow substantially.
So down the road, we have water district water that we purchased, okay?
Yeah.
And that water then goes to the Ash Creek district for reuse.
Yes.
After it's used, okay?
Yes.
And I understand that the city owns that water because we bought it from the district?
No. So the water right travels with the water. And so the water rights that Tokerville is using, so right now, the water rights that you have, they will continue with you through use. So the amount that you have, Tokerville will continue to own those water rights. And we've signed an agreement with the city talking about how that water will come back to the community. They'll have to pay for the infrastructure and the pumping costs.
Correct.
But
that reuse will come back to the city.
Yeah.
And the city can in turn distribute it out through irrigation and so on like that.
Yes.
When we buy it from you, then you're like, that's my water, and I'm gonna get that back to the district.
Yeah, and what we do is we just put it in our regional system.
Okay.
Yeah. So like right now, the majority of the reuse water that we'll have in this county is generated by St. George City. Now I'm talking about their water rights, and I'm also talking about water district water rights. We're pretty much going to, for the next 15 years, take all our water rights and ship them up to Hurricane. Because the Hurricane Canal Company right now is using Virgin River water, so we're going to ship all that water up to Hurricane. The Hurricane Canal Company will be using all reuse water. We're going to take the Virgin River water and do an exchange with them, send that water to our reservoirs, to our treatment plant, and then send that out amongst the community. So our waters, each city that's entitled to theirs, they get to keep it and reuse that portion of it for whatever they want. But the district water will be regionalized and move it where we need it. Does that make sense?
It does. You got a lot of water meters going out there figuring out how much to send to the city and how much to the city and how much to the district. Okay, but it is worked out to where it's going to be mutually beneficial.
Yeah, now the key with all that, and that's why I'm really glad we have the technical committee and the AAC committee, is because we talk about the technical side of it, of like where we should measure and things like that. But if there's a policy dispute of, hey, is one city trying to game the system or cheat the system, I would take it to the AAC and say, hey, this is what's going on. What do you guys want to do? But there will be, like with Tocqueville, or excuse me, Leverican, we just did a kind of a unique agreement with them where they have really good water rights. And essentially all those water rights are going to start coming to the district. Then we're going to make up with that with our regional reuse water. And so the kind of the same thing is like, we'll make them whole. And so then we'll take that water and put it back in the system. So it's a complex system. Yeah.
Lake Powell.
So I had a hand.
Oh, go ahead. I overrank him. Go ahead, Ben.
Okay.
I was wondering if you could speak to the current year water supply with the low snowpack and early melt, and what the reservoir levels look like.
Sure, great question. So this has been a one for the record books. So our average overall precipitation was almost dead even. Our snowpack was one of the lowest ever recorded, and it actually came off faster than ever recorded. And so we had record temperatures that just melted it very quickly and then came off. And so we essentially had no runoff in the Virgin River. There was no flooding at all in the Virgin. And so that's the second year that happened. And so, yeah, it's from a snowpack, one of the worst we've ever had. And it came off one of the earliest ever recorded. Fortunately, we have our reservoir levels that are up. So right now, Quell's at about 90%, Sand Hollow is about 85%, Gunlock's basically 100%, Colup's 100%. And so it's our reservoirs that will carry us through this year. And they're at healthy levels, and we shouldn't have any shortages at all. So
Right. Now Lake Powell.
So Lake Powell, are you talking about the Lake Powell pipeline or just the lake itself?
The lake itself and power and everything else.
So I'm also on the Colorado River Authority of Utah. And so what we're doing, the Bureau of Reclamation, they're doing two things with Lake Powell. As it was getting to the point where the models were showing that by almost as early as August, they would no longer be able to make electricity out of Lake Powell. So the Bureau of Reclamation has done two things under their emergency authority, is they've reduced the outflow from Lake Powell. And so they were assuming that they were going to probably release almost 8 million acre feet of water out of Lake Powell. They dropped that down to 6. And they also took half the water from Flaming Gorge Dam, and they're bringing it down the river right now. And so they're trying to do two things, release less and bring more water down. The current models say that's a Band-Aid, that's a 1-year fix. And so what the Bureau of Reclamation is doing is they have to come up with new plans to operate Glen Canyon and Hoover Dam. And so that year should give them the time to come up with that new plan. I can tell you the state of Arizona has already hired a law firm to sue over it. California has hired a law firm to sue about it. The state of Utah, our legislature has allocated $5 million for the coming lawsuit. So it's going to be pretty bad. But the state of Utah's position is is we have to keep the lake operating and generating electricity. It produces about 20% electricity in our community here. So we're fighting to keep it up. The state of Arizona's position is we should completely drain Lake Powell. So there's a lot of oppositions on it. Yes.
So are we concerned about all of the building that's going on and how our water is going to service all those people? And
You should.
Is there a point where we're going to say you can't build anymore?
Yes. Well, that was a compound question. So yes, we should be concerned. And your second question is should we get to a point where we just say no more building permits? And the answer to that is also yes. So we carefully work with all the cities about how many building permits they're issuing. Even when they entitle homes to be built, like they go out and they sign a development agreement, we track all that from all the cities. We monitor that. We talk about in our tech committee, because we can't allow a building permit to be issued where there's not going to be water for that home in perpetuity. And so we work closely with the cities. Not only that, but the state division of drinking water comes down and reviews our plans to make sure it's feasible. And so there's also checks and balances in it.
When are we gonna get to that point where we say no?
As in just
Are we there yet?
For new homes?
Yes.
So if we stop building infrastructure, that point will occur within a couple of years. If we build large infrastructure project, we will be pushing that out farther for 20 years. And so just so you know, like in the 80s, they had building moratoriums starting to kick in St. George. They said no more. Then they built Quail Reservoir. And that got us to a certain point. Then they Quail reached its limit, and so then they built Sand Hollow Reservoir. And it's the same thing. If we weren't building like Chief Toker and all this stuff we were talking about reuse, then that date would come fairly quickly.
So that point is based on infrastructure being built.
Right now it is 100%, yeah.
Okay. Because I know the state went and started looking at water rights and reclaiming some of the water rights of individuals. And we got notified of that. And they wanted to take some water rights, is what I'm saying.
So what they're doing is, it's called an adjudication.
Yes.
And just so you know, the Water Conservancy District, that's not us. Yeah, it's a state
But you can
division.
answer the question.
Yeah, so what they're doing is they're doing an adjudication. And so in the state of Utah, if you have a water right and you're not using it, you lose it. And so they're basically they go in and they look at geographical area and basically say, okay, are you using the water? And if you are, then you report that and it's fine. But if you're not using the water, then the state will take that water back. And it's something they do throughout the entire state of Utah. They're doing one over in Apple Valley, and yeah, they just kind of go through, and the state engineer just kind of determines an area to look at, and they go through that.
And that's permanent, right? They take it back permanently.
Yes, yeah, it's called forfeiture is what they actually call it. So just so you know, the state engineer can't do that individually. They actually have to go to a judge and say, Judge, this water right was issued, let's say 1940. They have they're not showing any use. They haven't filed non-use applications or anything. So Judge, we want you to issue a forfeiture for that water right. And the judge will actually issue the order forfeiting that. And so if you get a notice and you have a water right, it's very important to respond to that. Yeah. And there's ways even if you're not using it, there's ways to still protect the water that you can do that. Okay.
I know you've already addressed the data centers somewhat, but our state leaders seem to be loving those and want them everywhere. And can we really support all of those data centers with our water?
I don't know, and this is the reason why is I don't know. I can't answer that question because I hear a lot of rhetoric out there, but I haven't had a data center come to me yet, or I have seen it where they came in and says, we will use 500 acre feet of water. How will that work? And so I haven't seen that detail. So the state of Utah, I know, has one data center. It's operated by the feds, and that they build it along the Wasatch Front, and the feds won't release how much water that's using it because they say it's in a matter of national security. But I know the company that's supplying them the water, and they're using about 1,000 acre feet of water for that data center. So that's the NSA, I think, is the one that's operating right there at the point in the mountain. And so that is a big data center right there. But these other ones, I've heard numbers all over the board. And so even when the group came here to Washington County, I said, what are your numbers? And they're like, oh, it's going to be water efficient. I'm like, well, what does that mean? And I was like, how many acre feet of water do you need? And they didn't give me hard numbers. So yeah.
We'll find out. There's one in Miller County coming in that they're put in.
Yeah, that's what I saw. That. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. So.
Well, appreciate it, Zach.
Yes, and if any of you have any questions, please feel free to always reach out to me. And I said this to your mayor, you are the policymakers for our community. And it's my job to make sure I answer any questions you have. So if you want to see our infrastructure, if you want to see the water treatment plant, if you want to see anything, please come in. If you have questions about my budget, I'd be happy to have you sit down with our accountant. So you have all the information that you have. And that's very important to me that you're getting the information you need to make those policies. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to go to dinner. That's
okay.
Cool. All right.
Don't wear your shirt with your name on it. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay. Now's the time for the public forum. Please limit your time to 3 minutes per person. Please address a microphone and state your full name and address. Please note there may be no response by any city official during this time. For specific questions, please contact staff directly.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. So the public forum is open. Do we have anybody that would like to address the council?
Kathy Benz, 370 West Shangri-La. And I was just going to bring up the fact that March 5th, 2025, the city committed $10,000 annually to the Washington County Sheriff's Office to help fund the Washington County Drug Task Force. And since then, in March of this year, the Washington County Sheriff resigned, and maybe everybody knows about this, maybe it's old news, I don't know. But the Washington County Sheriff resigned under some allegations, and he was the one that had talked all these cities into paying this money. And I found out that Leeds, after paying 2 payments of $10,000, their new mayor came in and said, we're not doing this anymore. And they didn't do it. And so I thought, well, maybe this is something Tokerville doesn't need to be doing either, because so far, my understanding is we don't have a huge drug problem, I hope. I don't know where they'd be dealing drugs. Sapp Brothers, I don't know where, I'm not doing drugs, but I don't think we have a big issue. And it surprised me that, like so many things, we fund the sheriffs. Why are they coming in and asking for special money for special earmarked things when we're already paying them, right? And so this just sounds like maybe something, if Tokerville hasn't looked into it, maybe you can look into it and see if we have to be paying that money every year also.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Michael Franzese. I live at 1540 South Ash Creek Drive. So I'm up on the hill. I overlook the bridge and the new highway. And I talked to Darren a couple of months ago. And I know today was brought up a couple of things about the extra money that we're spending for the restriping and the barrier that's going to go up. And I just want to know whether or not that might include the signage to go up on that new highway for no engine brakes. The noise is very loud up there. I don't know if anybody's ever heard it, but you're all welcome to go up there and go by those mailboxes that are on the hill and just stand there for a couple of minutes and just listen to all that traffic coming down. And truckers that use the Jake brakes. You get a little horde of motorcycles that are going out for a ride, and the noise is just unbearable up there. That canyon just makes everything echo so bad.
Yeah, the motorcycles you can't do much about. You want to answer that or no?
Yeah, we do have that signage on order.
Okay. And then enforce.
We do have what on order?
Signage.
For no engine brakes. Going down.
No engine brakes?
Yeah. You're not the only one that has mentioned this. We've got some off Mulberry as well.
Yeah. I know a lot of people are actually affected by it, so it's not just me.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Gary Chaves, 226 West Mountain Charm. I want to read this so I make sure I don't miss anything. In the near future, this council will review and vote upon a development agreement between Solera and the city to develop 1,500 dwelling units, of which 200 will be allowed to be in a nightly rental development. Personally, I'm against these developments. I expressed that when I served on the council, and yet an ordinance was created to allow nightly rental developments in Tokerville. This ordinance capped the number of rentals to 6%, and there was a big debate at the time as to what that number should be, and we agreed upon 6%. Tokerville residents are capped at 5%. This upcoming agreement with Solera will enable developers up to 13%, which is more than double what our ordinance reads. And I'm asking this council not to allow the developer to go beyond the 6% maximum. When I compare the differences that developers get compared to what the residents who have nightly rentals, I ask, who are we really serving, the residents or the developers? The developers don't have to wait until there's enough houses built to qualify, whereas a resident has to wait. Residents also have to apply, pay fees, then be placed on a waiting list for an unknown amount of time until they qualify, have public hearings, and deal with boundary limitations and inspections compared to what a developer gets with their nightly rental developments. Why do they do this? The citizens in this town aren't in nightly rentals just to change sheets and clean toilet bowls. They need additional finances, and that's why they make a decision to have a nightly rental. Some of them are retired, some of them have reduced incomes, some of them need some form of extra income to get by. In doing so, these are our neighbors. They have proven to maintain their homes and avoid neighborhood complaints historically. But the new nightly rental development limits our citizens and allows developers to reap profits and to bring strangers into our town. I'm asking this council again, please do not exceed the 6% limit in the future development agreement that you may see in the near future. Thank you for your time and for your service.
Thank you. Do we have any other people that would like to address the council? Okay, we'll close the public forum. Item G, business items, discuss and possible action adopting the fiscal year 2026-2027 tentative budget and setting the date for a public hearing. Ben?
Yeah, so this budget presentation will be a bit abbreviated relative to the proposed budget that we did back in May. The reason for that is simply the proposed budget kind of was very broad, covered all the funds. The objective here of the tentative budget is to kind of cover the changes and any other explanations that have come up in the interim. So, which there haven't been many, so it might feel quite a bit shorter than the last presentation, I hope. I just wanted to provide a brief overview of the budget process, where we're at in that budget process. So what we're doing tonight is all outlined by state statute under that code reference. The purpose of a tentative budget presentation is to put the budget out to the public, to make it first available to the public. Not that the proposed budget wasn't available to the public, but this is the formal notice and really the first statutorily required notice of the budget process. So after accepting the tentative budget in your packet, it will then be available to the public for a review period, and then we'll set a hearing for the first, set a date for the first public hearing. And noteworthy, that last bullet point here, as we'll talk about later, there's a truth and taxation consideration, which provides additional hearing, one additional hearing in August. That's the truth and taxation hearing, which occurs prior to the final budget adoption, also in August. This slide is really the key to the tentative budget presentation relative to the proposed budget presentation, because what we're trying to accomplish here is capture anything that changed in the interim. which really are only two things, one being relatively minor, the other being relatively major. So the first being that a community event. This has been talked about for quite some time now, the administering of the turkey trot. So basically this was net neutral on the budget. We anticipate in the end it will be positive to the general fund because that's how it's been, as it's been ran under I want to say not nonprofit, but simply by individuals in the community. And those individuals have offered, and I believe still intend to serve in that capacity. The difference here is that funds will flow through the city. So it becomes more of a city event ran by volunteers in the community. That's the idea there. The other.
With that one, Ben, that includes the insurance?
Yeah, it falls under our commercial general liability policy.
Then we're good that way.
Yeah, because that, you're right, that was a concern kind of over the years, is that it is technically a special event, but we made an exception for that kind of one time. Anyway, it does resolve that concern.
Okay.
Yep, so it is an insured event at this point.
Okay.
The kind of more significant project that's changed with this tentative budget is the Cottam system to the 2 million gallon tank tie-in. That's estimated to be a $375,000 project. I have a few comments related to this project. Currently, as you know, the Westfield tank is supplying water to the 2 million gallon tank. There are no users technically that are drawing from that 2 million gallon tank. However, they are using construction water from it for compaction, dust control, that sort of thing on projects that are on Tokerville Parkway. Our public works team is having a difficult time maintaining water levels in that 2 million gallon tank. Because the tank size, the Westfield water tank size is quite small and just has a hard time keeping up. I believe they can only fill like a foot or two at a time at any given time with that pump kind of running constantly and just drawing down that Westfield tank. So it is a large project, approaching $400,000. No engineering is done for it yet. We're kind of in early discussions. The Conservancy District has confirmed that they have water availability to supply wholesale water to that water system. And at this point, how we would fund that, the way that I view the funding mechanism for this, is the users of that system are paying for that improvement. So we are billing with that hydrant. Our hydrant water is quite expensive in our community, and that would cover the cost to complete this project. The billing, really leaning on Ruth here, is roughly like the users currently are paying about $20,000 to $30,000 a month is the number that I have in my head. Do you know off the top of your head?
That sounds right. It
quickly pays for this improvement. The hydrant meter, the construction water that's being used for this. So I think financially it makes a lot of sense. It also provides system redundancy for the entire Tokerville water system, because what it's doing is it's providing a large connection that ties in the wholesale water from the Cottam system, which will soon be fed by Quail. It's kind of creating this whole network throughout the entire RWSA program, right? And so the idea is that we would now be integrated. And I mean, should there be any failure or system restraint for the springs, that we'd then be redundant with the Cottam well water. So that's that proposal. Obviously, prior to initiating this project, it would be before you many more times. But it's almost like a placeholder in the budget. So those are the two big changes. The turkey trot was a massive change in the budget. I wanted to speak briefly regarding two revenue things to consider as a city council. That first being the property tax consideration, and second being a new sales tax consideration. So we've talked a lot about property tax and the mill levy over time. And as you know, property tax in the state of Utah is not designed to increase with inflation. So theoretically, in order to maintain a level of service, semi-regular adjustments to the property tax mill levy should be done. Communities get by for many years without doing any adjustments, but that means you're drawing on other revenue sources and creating this kind of deficit or imbalance in the budget, where you're becoming less dependent on property tax over time. So here you can see This is like what, a 13-year cycle starting in 2013. The mill levy was 1.3 mils. And over time, through 2019, that mill levy reduced. Now, one thing that's important to note here is the property tax system is not based on a rate. You hear a lot about a rate, but the reality is that it's based on revenue. It's based on dollars. When the county does our property tax calculation, it's all about maintaining the same level of dollars plus new growth that happen within the community. And so naturally, in an economy where property values are increasing, your mill levy will decrease over time. And that's what happened between 2013 and 2019. And then you see that jump in 2019 to 2020. That's truth in taxation. So when you go through the truth in taxation process, that's where you're seeking new revenue through property tax. And then immediately following that, 2021 to 2022, where values increased pretty drastically, that mill levy then dropped. Now, property values are not the only reason that cause adjustments to the mill levy, but I do think it's important. That is the primary cause. I mean, it's everything from collection rates to different interpretation, like how centrally assessed property values work. It's a very complex system that I think for the most part I have my head wrapped around. So if there's any ever questions, someone wants to dig into it deep, happy to have those conversations. But this tentative budget, as we will get to in business item 2, does include a consideration of truth in taxation. That said, truth in taxation, as of this legislative session, has some very specific requirements. Up on the table here, there is I forgot the word for it, but basically a schedule of property tax impacts. So what is the property tax that you're considering paying for? Now, it is noteworthy to say property taxes are unrestricted, but for every time a city council goes through truth in taxation, or a school district for that matter, you have to say what the impact is if you adopt this. How will your budget change if you adopt this property tax increase? And in this case, we have 3 primary considerations. First being legal expense at $62,000 annually and 63% of the truth in taxation consideration. The second being pavement preservation. I would say, if I were to say kind of what one of the underlying themes of this budget is that we are reinvesting in our aging infrastructure. It's really easy to neglect, say, pavement preservation over time because it's easy to cut that out of the budget when you have budgetary needs. You don't feel the effect of it for years, but we are starting to feel the effect of that in some of our street maintenance programs. So this is a small portion of our pavement preservation. For example, this year, I think I've mentioned that the tentative budget includes $123,000 in pavement preservation. This is only covering $20,000 of that. And then the item in green is just a $16,000 general fund level of service maintenance consideration. And this is that inflationary component. And when you look at the property tax impact schedule, you'll see the various departments that would be affected, none of which are significant, right? In the admin budget, for example, we would have to draw down $5,000 out of the admin budget if this property tax did not pass. Is that doable? Absolutely. It would be very easy in a $650,000 admin budget to find $5,000. That's not the question. The question is what happens over a 10-year period when you see that kind of diminishment over time. And again, that it really just creates this imbalance between what your revenue sources are and how you're funding the general fund. Next up, we have a sales tax rate. Okay, the reason that sales tax is a consideration here is because one of our strategic objectives this year is to consider the final sales tax revenue opportunity that we have, and that is to fund highways. It's the highway tax, and this chart is showing the sales tax rate in various communities throughout Washington County, as well as Cedar City as a point of reference. And here you'll see it looks about like a 50-50 split. Tokerville is at 6.45%, along with those other communities such as Leeds, New Harmony, Rockville, Apple Valley, and Enterprise. And then the communities that have a larger, the pattern here is that the communities that have a larger sales tax base have already adopted this. And the reason for that is because if you don't have sales tax outlets, the residents are paying for it. The residents are paying for it either way, either through a sales tax or through a property tax. No matter what, it's kind of coming out of the same pocket. As you get more and more sales tax outlets, which we are now starting to see at Anderson Junction, the sales tax is one way that you can pass expenses of maintaining the city's infrastructure onto those users of the system that aren't otherwise paying for it. So people driving the roads in Tokerville that don't pay property taxes in the community, the sales tax is how you kind of pass along some of those costs. And so if the city council were to adopt this ordinance, we would move from that 6.45% to the 6.75%, along with those other communities that are a touch higher than that. And then, of course, you have Springdale and Virgin who have resort community taxes, and they're able to have more sales tax revenue due to the demand placed by the traveling public. And I believe that wraps it up for the tentative budget presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about the tentative budget.
Let me ask you a tax question out of left field.
Yeah.
Mr. Chase brought out the nightly rentals and stuff. Do we get tax revenue out of nightly rentals?
Nightly rentals are a great source of revenue for cities, yeah.
Which brings me to my next thing. I think we probably got more non-licensed nightly rentals in this city than we have licensed nightly rentals, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
And we're not enforcing.
We've not made an enforcement push for short-term rentals.
Which takes me to the other part of the issue is we're essentially penalizing those who want to do it legally and not putting any jeopardy on those who are doing it illegally. So with the cap on the nightly rentals, and I'm just throwing this out there with the cap on the nightly rentals, we actually are limiting the revenue we can have, even though the nightly rentals are in town. Correct? Since they're operating already, we're just getting no revenue out of them if we're not enforcing them. Correct?
The majority of short-term rentals, even the illegally operating short-term rental units, are using a portal. I think we're all familiar with them, Vrbo, Airbnb, and they're the ones collecting the TRT and the sales tax on them. And so even the illegally operating rentals will still get that TRT.
Okay. That makes me feel a little better anyway. Okay. Any other questions?
I don't think we're getting that.
Now, on the tentative budget, if we choose to go forward with this, and then you go through truth and taxation, you have to line item anything you're proposed for a public hearing, what you're proposing to increase, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So this is not adopting it, it's just saying we can take it to a public hearing and see where it goes.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
That was helpful with the email the mayor had you do also.
Kind of the line by line material changes.
That was helpful.
Great.
Okay. Anything else on this one?
We need to set a date.
Yeah, if you notice, if you pull up the agenda item sheet on this, there's proposed language which includes a public hearing date for May 20th.
With the cotton line and the 2 million gallon tank, and if we move forward to do that, I mean, what's the time frame as far as right now we can't fill it, and what's the time frame of getting all this online so that it is usable?
Well, just to basically, we'd need to get the engineering done. That would probably take 6 months, just on a guesstimate there. And then to put the infrastructure to advertise the contract and get all that put into gear, you're probably good 18 months beyond the 6. So you're probably good, I'd say good 2 years.
So in the meantime, we're just bootstrapping it as best we can?
Well, it's not insufficient. It's not like it's just struggling. You know, it's not that it's not working. It is working. We can completely fill the 2 million gallon tank. It just takes a little bit. And especially as the summer comes around, there's a lot more draw on the Westfield tank. So, we're sharing the storage capacity of the Westfield tank with the new 2 million gallon tank. During the winter, it's a little easier to fill. So.
Well, lack of redundancy is an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And then that's
Yeah,
the whole
absolutely.
purpose to this.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks, Darren.
Anything else? All right. So that, you hit item 2 already, Ben? Statement of the tentative budget? or-
No, not yet. This tentative budget consideration does require action. And I will say, if you are using the agenda item sheet, there's a typo in that. It's not 2025, 2026, it's 26, 27.
Okay, on number 1?
Yeah.
Mayor, I make a motion to adopt the fiscal year 2026, 2027 tentative budget and set the public hearing date for May 20th, 2026.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor will do a roll call.
Aye.
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 Motion passes.
Too many questions there for me.
You what?
Why didn't you ask her?
Why didn't I ask him?
Well, go
Before
ahead.
we
We voted, but go ahead and ask it.
No,
Do you have questions you can ask now?
I will bring it up a later date after I
Okay.
talk with the,
Okay.
run this over. I think there's something that I just don't like in here. And I could be reading it wrong.
I went over my questions with Ben today and he was very helpful, so.
Well, I'm having a problem with this $98,000 deficit we're gonna get from the property tax increase. It matches wages and the debt fall there we have. So I didn't have time with my schedule to go through this enough. So I have questions. So that's why I voted nay.
Okay.
And then if I get those questions answered, I'll refer to you guys and tell you what I thought and saw and found.
Okay.
And then we can decide later on, I guess. Just moving it to a public hearing.
All right, number 2, statement that the tentative budget for fiscal year 2026, 2027 includes a proposed property tax increase.
Yes. So we have 2 statements here. This is a new state statute. I'll simply read this as this tentative budget includes a proposed property tax rate increase for all properties within Tocqueville City. The property tax impact schedule was included in the public meeting notice, and copies are available for the public on the table, on the public meeting notice website, kind of at your convenience.
When I saw it, it was essentially, I think it was referencing about a $450,000 home. It's about $68 a year. Is that?
It was 80, I don't have it pulled up. I believe $80 a year, $6 a month.
8039, and then for value, businesses, 146.16.
All right.
For the same business value.
That's it. That's the statement.
Okay.
So that's a 33.8% increase?
Yeah, that's it. Yep, 33.8% increase.
No action on that?
Nope.
Number 3, statement that the proposed property tax increase for fiscal year 2026, 2027 would generate an increase of $98,000, which would be an approximate increase of 33.8% for the purpose of funding legal expenses, pavement preservation, and general fund department operations.
I think that hit everything. There was, let's see, these 4 lines are state statute. One of them may not have been included, which is Tocqueville City is considering levying a tax rate that exceeds the fiscal year taxing entity's certified tax rate. I will say all of these technicalities, the state auditor's office is being very technical to make sure we're checking all the boxes. A number of entities last year that went through truth and taxation to pass the property tax actually had their property tax denied because they didn't fulfill all the requirements. So the last one you did touch on, number 2 and 3. The 4th one being the city will provide notice of and conduct a public hearing at which members of the public will have an opportunity to provide comments on the proposed tax rate increase.
Okay.
So on the, you gave us the proposed property tax impact schedule.
Yes.
As part of our, and then, so again, we talked about the mill rate, but then on here you list Tokerville City's current property tax rate. So can you tell me how
The difference between a mill levy.
Yeah, and the rate, because the rate you have 0.000962. So can you clarify that for me?
So a mill levy and a property tax rate are synonymous.
Okay.
Those 3 zeros imply a mill levy of 0.962.
Okay.
And a 33% increase results in a mill levy that would be 1.2 something mils.
Okay. And then the proposed mill rate, a mill increase, mill levy increase is still lower than what the mill rate was back in 2020.
Correct. Yep.
So I know it was on your chart, but how much lower is it? Or
It was 13. It was 1.3. So it's about a tenth of a mil lower. I could.
Okay. And percentage wise, I mean, because we're doing what'd you say, 33.8% increase, but if we compare that to what it was in 2020, that percentage is less by.
Right. I don't know the
calculation. I don't know what I'm getting at either, but it's just, it's lower than it was in 2020, and we're just adjusting for inflation and the fact that over the course of time, like you explained, the rate of the mill levy reduces based on what's coming in, development, but also so that we don't see what happens in other states where suddenly property values shoot up, and it allows certain municipalities to jump on that to increase their budget where they're not really using it for proper stuff. How's that word?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So truth in taxation was kind of a revolutionary concept in the 1980s. Utah was the first one to do it, to create this program. And I think it's something like, I don't know, it's in the teens have followed the same model that Utah created after that. And really what it's doing is it's acknowledging that property values change differently than inflation generally. And so that's kind of the main reason for it. And it's also just making the process very transparent and allowing the public to know and understand and be educated on why you're paying property tax, essentially.
Well, for me, it's nice because it says, this is what we need to pay for.
Yeah.
This is what we're increasing for. And if you choose not to do it, we can't do those things.
Right.
Essentially, right?
And the other thing that I think is important for city council to note is that it could be a la carte. You could say, well, we don't need to do pavement preservation this year. So we might select item 1 and 3.
Well, some of it's within our control and some of it's not in our control.
Correct.
So, right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We good? Okay, item number 4. Discussion and possible action on change order 001 in the amount of $16,585.80 to incorporate the recommendations of the geotechnical investigation and account for the additional work in Westfield Park.
So Mayor and Council, essentially the contractor, Interstate Rock, you guys approved that original contract amount, and they began design. They did a value engineering design on that, which the mayor and Councilman Olson have basically reviewed those plans as well. We've talked about ensuring that those pickleball courts are created with the post tension, all the many things that we need so that we don't have cracking. I don't play pickleball, so I don't understand 100% all of the things that they talk about, but I believe Wayne does. And so anyway, as we reviewed those plans and things, we basically came to a point, and I said, did anybody do a geotechnical report on this? Because I've known that they put concrete in that, underneath that, and fill for years. Anyway, so it came back, we ordered the geotech report. It came back that they needed to do at least a 3-foot over X based on their test pits. So they, as we've been asked them, hey, let's get going as quick as we can, at least on the grading. for now. So you see them out there right now. I don't know if you've been out there.
Yeah.
They're digging a big hole. And that's the over excavation for those pickleball courts.
Yeah, some of the stuff they brought out. when
And
they first
yeah,
started
if you want to
digging
see all
was
the
pretty
concrete, there's a lot of concrete that was dumped in there. They found a lot of organic materials such as tree limbs, things, and they've gone actually deeper than the 3 feet in some places, a little bit less than other places. So, you know, as they've done the exploring what's there, as they've been doing the overX, it's been a little bit of that. But knowing essentially that based on the geotechnicals report that they needed to do at least a 3-foot overX, this change order was submitted by Interstate Rock. And so what they tried to do there was to offset some of the costs for the overX cost by taking out some things. Instead of doing some subsurface storm drainage, they've taken out those storm drains and moved it to the surface, creating like drainage channels and things such as that across it instead. They reduced a little bit of the square footage of the concrete, which saved a little bit of money here and there, which it reduced it from a $31,000, I can't remember, I can't even see that, $31,941. Essentially, from that to the 16 by reducing some of the overall cost of the concrete, and the storm drainage, as you can see in the change order there.
So
go ahead.
are the storm drains still adequate?
Yes. So what they did is instead of putting storm drains, what they have is they have like these things that are called area drains. They're about a foot by foot, and they have a 6-inch. A lot of homes do this at the bottom of their downspouts off their roofs. They were going to do that and use that and dump it back into the storm drain, the system that goes through the park right now. There's a big storm drain pipe that goes through there. They tied those into there. They said, well, you know what? We could pull that out, raise it to the surface, create a little bit of a drainage area there. And when we do the landscaping and things there, we'll just create a riprap ditch that will take the water at the surface rather than
So it's simplified,
subsurface.
but its capacity hasn't changed.
No, the capacity still
Okay.
be the same. Basically everything still stayed the same as far as the need for the drainage. Some sort, whether it's the surface or whether it's drain pipes.
Thank you. I was just concerned about that.
Yeah. So was I, as we sat down and talked about it, I said, okay, well, what are you going to do? And so they moved, Wayne had talked about moving some of the concrete sidewalks away from the pickleball courts. And what they did there is they created a V ditch, kind of a little ditch that will take it to the south and out around and push it towards the Westfield Road at the bottom there, and then drop it into a curb inlet box there. So, but it'll keep it at the surface. They were just trying to put it under the ground in the initial first design. And so by doing that, they've lessened the blow of the overX. There is going to be, just so that you guys know, there you can see on that last item. Sorry, I cannot even see that in my contacts here. Basically, the very last one there, it says,
1,300 cubic yards.
yeah, the expendable price, because they knew that there possibly could be a little bit deeper excavation than the 3 feet. So they have found that there needs in a few places that they're down about 5 to 6 feet in some places. Other places they're 2. So they hit bedrock, and so they're gonna, at the end, they'll be able to, as they went in and actually did the work, they're going to be able to give us an exact price. So it'll increase a little bit there on that over excavation and recompaction. But we need that for a good sustainable base underneath those pickleball courts so that we don't have failures in the future with the concrete and things such as that. So
how much of that large pavilion are they going to decrease the concrete?
So what they're going to do, instead of going to the poles, they've decreased it about 2 feet around the outside perimeter of that, and about a foot beyond the small ones.
So they're not going to have to anchor to the post.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to put, the concrete will not go right up to and around the posts anymore. So we could,
That'll put that right on the drip line then.
What's that?
That'll put that
I think it did that. So
in the
they
drip line.
Change the grade to go above it
Yeah.
or below it, whichever one. So that's why remember when you're talking about the footings for the post on?
Yeah.
Then they don't have to worry about that.
And we shouldn't have a lot of drip line in those areas because we're gonna do more of a xeriscape type of a scenario on that bottom part. We'll have grass up on the upper end, as you remember from the plans. Not last council meeting, but the previous meeting, we had those plans for everybody. I hope all of you got a chance to look at those. If not, I can show you where we're at. But anyway, like I say, Wayne sees them, the mayor's seen them. So there's not, but like I say, we're going to do the more of a xeriscape in this area as far as dripper hoses and things such as that.
Well, we've got some good engineering drawings. Have we got any architectural drawing of what the final is that's going to look like?
Architectural?
Well, just something that the public can look at and see what it's going to look like when it's done.
Of course, yeah.
Have we posted that one yet? Or can we?
We can. We can. We'll just to take the site plan and show that. I've shown probably a half a dozen people that live out in the Westfield area that have came in and sat down and talked with me.
Yeah, we'll just put it on the website or the Facebook page, so it's out there for them to see.
Yeah, we could do that. Not a problem at all.
Thank you.
So,
any questions on this?
Hey, Ben or Darren, we're pretty tight on the funding for the park, were we not?
It was kind of like 4 feet or something.
We are, yeah.
So how are we proposing to?
An additional allocation of impact fees that have come in the interim.
Okay.
That's how we're paying for the difference.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions?
they haven't been able to give us, that's just within the last day that they've been out there. They've only been out there grading since Monday.
Yeah.
And so they've got to finish the grading and then they'll let us know. There was so many unknowns, and we started with their design, and then we subtracted for the 3 feet, and that's what this is.
And I know they just did a big cut on the west end of it.
The reason I'm asking that is if we approved it up to 20,000 or something, then we might not have to come back for another change order, but would still be within the
Possibly.
purview of this change order.
Do a not to exceed on it.
Yeah.
Where are we gonna get that extra 20,000?
Ben said he's paying for it.
Ben's paying for it?
He just barely.
Impact fees that have come in.
Extra impact fees. The impact fees that come in from the time that we loaded it. And that's good.
And if there's, Ben will pick up anything over there.
Yeah.
Any further questions? You want to try a motion?
We got around the pickleball court. We got any sidewalk around the pickleball court at all? On 3 sides?
On 3 sides,
And the
yes.
uphill
And
south
that
side,
uphill,
so
yeah,
they
the
get-
uphill side, they moved it farther away from the pickleball courts and put a drainage ditch between the sidewalk and the pad of that, on that uphill side. That way, that alleviated your concern with the sidewalk draining onto the pad. So, and I've got those plans if you'd like to
And
look
did
at
they
them.
address the concrete slabs, the sidewalks that are higher than the pickleball court? Did they catch that?
It'll
error?
still be there, but it'll be a V ditch in between those two. I need to show you the plan, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
Because you want to cover up the most strip of the sidewalk too, butt it up three sides.
Yes, yes.
Just had those areas where it was dead level from the pickleball court to the sidewalk over here at the edge.
So, yeah, let's look at that when you have a minute offline. So we get in that area. But yeah, they did that. And then those other, I can't remember all of your red lines you had, but there was a few minimal ones that they've addressed those as well.
We'll look at it.
Yeah.
If we take it up to 20,000, I think there's about 150 additional cubic yards that they can move.
Yeah, roughly, because you've got your 3 feet plus another 2 overall. If you went that overall, you could just extend that. And that's why they have that in the change order, is to extend that price just because of the unknown of what they'll hit there. But it's only for that over X area. Everything else is the same.
The increased electrical conduit will take care of future street lighting in it, right?
Yep, that's
And those 2 spots.
that's those 2 spots that you and I talked about.
Good.
You spent that money?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that's conduit. We're talking less than $100 probably on that.
You want to take a shot at a motion, Joey?
Yeah, I'd say we'd approve Make a motion to approve change order 001 in the amount of 20,000, but not to exceed 20,000 for the additional work on Westfield Park.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Do a roll call.
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Item 5, discussion of possible action replacing a city representative of the Chief Toker Reservoir Recreation Committee.
We lose one?
Yep, and I just got word we're probably losing another one. So
What do you do with them?
I think it's Lynn, or it's because the Conservancy District their guy wasn't showing up, so they figured, why am I here? No, just a couple personal issues came up, so.
Whatever.
So on this one, do we want to talk to it, Ben? I'll bring it up. We've had one of the members that has asked to be released. I actually got an email from another member today that has asked to be released. I'm proposing that Mr. Billingsley come in, since we're going to be doing budget items, trying to figure out how to fund this thing down the road as well on the committee. And I've got to find one more person to replace another person on the committee.
So
No, I'm not looking at you, so.
Ben's gonna.
I'm looking at the back row. Do we have anybody that'd like to be on the recreation area committee for?
They're all ducking down in their seats.
How often do they meet?
Yeah, we're meeting.
Can't they just nominated Ray Benz?
Really, we're meeting twice a month, and it's planning the recreation area at the reservoir.
I'm looking to see if Diet Coke is using sewer water.
Only if you go to Disney.
Well, and you can't get behind Ruth. I'm sorry. You can keep leaning, but that's like. All right.
Do you want a member of the community?
Yeah, I
You
do.
want us to ask?
It actually has to be a member of the community. Ben is replacing a city staff member,
Okay.
so it's got to be,
I have some people I can ask.
okay.
One meeting a month, maybe that will scare
It's
them.
twice a month. And we should be done before the end of the year.
This, like for this.
Well, they're going to be finished with the reservoir in February, and we've got to have this identified and try and get some funding sources so
Okay.
Do you need a motion for this one?
we do to put Ben Billingsley on the committee.
I make a motion to remove the existing city representative and replace with Mr. Ben Billingsley.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Wait, this is on the resolution, correct? So we have to do roll call if it's a resolution?
No, not the appointment wasn't.
Okay, all right. Okay, meeting's tomorrow, Ben.
I'll be there.
Okay,
Really? Thanks for-
it is tomorrow. Yeah. Okay, I've asked the one to stay on until I get him replaced.
And
but we'll see.
where, are they held here?
They meet here, yeah.
When do you have her?
Twice a month,
Mayor?
the schedule you approved, I think so.
We had to-
Usually goes to once a month.
Right, after June, right?
After, I don't know, either May or.
Yeah, I think it's twice a month this month, and then, I'm not sure if we stay twice next month, but it's in the,
It's on
Yeah.
the schedule.
When are you having the meetings, Mayor?
tomorrow.
Well, so we can,
Thursdays at 3.
Thursdays at 3?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we have potential people.
Yeah.
we let them know. Thursdays at 3, the second and
I can
third,
send
fourth
the
Thursday?
schedule.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Work items. Number one, discussion potential amendments to the hillside regulations, including possible exceptions for recreation uses, trails, and related access improvements. Do you want to start this, or I'll start it, or go ahead?
I'm happy to lead. I mean, this is a follow-up to the property tour that we did out at Firelight, where the developer is proposing a recreational staircase. And in this instance, as we review our hillside ordinance, it really isn't viable. There's no carve out for any sort of exception in our hillside ordinance. And this is simply, the reason that we wanted this as a work item is to say, is this a desirable project in the community? And how would we go about doing that? And instead of making a single exception, is there kind of a broader exception that we'd like to make? Maybe if that's, with minimized disturbances, what the exception would look like if there were there's other trails that are being considered or contemplated as part of the community trail build out. One of those being like a trail around the Chief Toker Reservoir that really also probably wouldn't be viable under a hillside ordinance. So there are a few ways that we can kind of go about that. One would just simply be to build in a carve out for recreational purposes and limit the width. And then, perhaps to build like a reclamation into anything that's not used. So the disturbance is going to be wider than the stairs, but then there will be mitigating work to kind of offset the impact that exceeds that area. So really, this is just discussion for the council, and then staff will craft that, and any proposed amendment to the hillside ordinance, that sensitive lands overlay, would have to go before the planning commission. So it'd be a recommendation of the planning commission.
So are we kind of asking the planning commission to look at this as a city council?
Yeah, I mean, that's the question. That's the.
Well, I want to add on to that a little bit. Number one, I don't like making an amendment for one person, for one group. We were talking about this with actually some trails on Water Conservancy District land that would have to fall within this, as well as the Chief Toker Reservoir trail around it, which would fall in this. So,
What about the Devil's Hole too? You're going to have trails to that.
yeah, so I mean, there's a number of areas throughout the city, and it's in our general plan that we want to do the trail systems.
Yeah.
And it's had public support. So I think with our terrain around here, unless you can walk on the sidewalks through the city, we're gonna end up having to do something on this.
Yeah, I think it'd be great.
I think it's really important to, when whoever's preparing it for the planning commission or planning commission first, is that we need to look at the reclamation portion. And it needs to make sure that it blends in with the surroundings. And I think we should have a minimum standard for that. And then also, I think we need to put in there, if we're going to do that, then if there is utilities in there, that they need to be completed to city standards, district standards, whatever other standards that we're going to reference, because I think that's going to be an important factor.
Well, in my personal opinion, we don't even consider vehicular traffic on it. It's purely pedestrian traffic.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, I'm just talking about the installation standards.
Right. Just pointing out things that if we're going to throw it at the planning commission, just things we probably want to highlight.
Reclamation.
Yeah.
For scars.
Mitigation of those scars would be super important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
So Joey, were you talking like a carve out for recreation only, or no, just updating the entire hillside ordinance?
It would have to be, not like a carve out, it would be an amendment to the hillside ordinance, is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But it would be an extension or for trails only,
For trails,
pedestrian
trails recreation
No
only.
wider than this width.
Okay.
Would you want it to read as like just an exception, like a carve out for trails and other recreation opportunities, or something more like you can apply for this exception and then the hillside board would review it to make sure you met like X criteria? So maybe some of the reclamation concerns that you had.
Do you think they should still have to apply?
Review, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we were talking about creating an exception. So in my mind, that's different. It's like if you qualify, you may not have to apply for a hillside development permit, whereas you could also draft it so that it's an exception, but you still have to come before the hillside review board and you have to meet certain criteria.
So I think in this case, it would be an exception to the 30% plus. That's where we'd be building in that exception. So, and I think we should specify that they still have to apply.
I agree. It still has to be reviewed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the 30% plus is really tricky. Because
It just says
There
development.
should be a minimum length, like you can't disturb more than
Yeah.
100 feet of 30%, or, because then you're gonna have somebody come in trying to go straight through a cliff.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna talk about, that's where we gotta be really careful.
A percentage of the area or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
It can only be, anything that exceeds the 30% could only be a certain percentage of the entire project, or.
Do we have a hillside review board?
We do, it's planning commission.
Is planning commission versed enough to be able to do a hillside review board?
That's what Darren said, something like that. I think it would be good that when we do that, maybe we should like create a hillside board, like an engineer
A geotech,
Some people
those
that really understand it, but understand the reclamation.
I think it would still be good to have, the political body involved a little bit too.
Well, I
We could have
because
members of
I mean,
planning
I don't want them going in disturbing
But it's,
some artifacts or, I mean, any of the natural stuff that's out there either. So just because we're saying they can do it doesn't mean they can plow through anything either.
but as far as the technical aspect, do we need a outside board or somebody like you were talking about, engineers?
I will say that's fairly typical with larger towns to have somebody sitting on that hillside board that understands geotech, understands engineering. Usually it is an engineer that sits on the board.
And St. George's, I believe right now, they have a engineer, they have a geotech, they have an architect, or a landscape architect, and a few things like that on that board.
They're on their hillside
Yeah,
board.
they're licensed professionals.
But again, in reality, how many times are we going to see this?
Right, so I mean, in reality, that's something that we would have to pay for.
Well, and still, you'll probably,
Yes.
let's say it's not just for this, let's say it's just for your review board.
Right.
Your review board, there's possibilities with development that's coming in with the Lowe's property, the Silver Cliffs rock property, some of the firelight that we still have.
Well, we could put it in their application that they have to cover the cost of the review, could we not?
Yeah, that's already in the
Professional
professional
services,
services agreement, so they have to cover the cost for legal review. If there was like engineering review required for their application, they would have to cover that cost.
So would it be more cost effective if we were to use one of the other cities' boards and pay them with the development fees, or would it be more cost effective for us to come up with our own engineers and all that kind of
So
stuff?
we already
have our own city engineers.
Well, no, I understand that. I'm just saying they've already got a body that has, or there are a number of cities that have bodies that are already there.
We can ask
Is it
the
cheaper to get them to do the reviews, or
We
is it
can ask the
better
question.
to, I don't know, I'm just asking.
We'd have to look. I know St. George's Code is written to have 2 experts and then 3 community members. So maybe they rotate those experts. I'm not sure. Maybe some of the community members are experts, but maybe that wouldn't be appropriate to have the entire board here. So we could look into it.
Yeah, but I think as part of our review and recrafting this, we could definitely review those comments that you guys have right now and concerns. And then as we propose it to you,
So we don't need a motion, just, we're going to move forward to have the planning commission review it?
just
No motion on this one, just direction.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was really surprised because I went out there too and listened to their spiel and how it was going to be an attraction destination and all these kind of things. And everyone from Tokerville immediately jumped on the bandwagon on how we can change this ordinance, how we can configure it, how we can do this, how we can do that. And we didn't even discuss it as a council to begin with. So you have a sensitive land and it's no exceptions in it. We did that for a reason. And here you're trying to even go as far as exception for related access improvements. To me, if you looked at that, I had no opinion when I went out there. But the more I went out and looked at all these sensitive, nice spots, and here I'm trying to figure out why you guys would even consider tearing that up.
Well, you're looking at the one thing, and that's.
I'm looking at lots of things. I'm looking at this hillside, I'm looking at every hillside out there. You don't need to put a trail up that thing. They're gonna have access from the BLM getting up there and they can put the trail over there. Once you start, in my opinion, once you start taking down your hillside ordinance, then it's vulnerable to everybody. I thought we'd have a more educated discussion on this rather than just jump right into this and let's get the planning commission to look at it. Do we even want to consider looking at it? Do we even want to consider changing that for a developer, any developer? Because once for all, there'll be somebody that want to build a trail up this hill and up that hill. You cannot restore that. You cannot compare that to the St. George because that was a storm drain complete washout. They corrected the problem by putting the stairs in there. That'll be ugly. It'll be 30, 35 feet wide and you can never restore it to look like the way it was. It'll be a scar. It'll be a scar anywhere that you touch a hillside. And that's why that hillside ordinance took a long time to put together and a lot of thinking. And here we are all sitting there to just blow it out for a trail
Wait a minute.
or maybe
Where
access.
did that
No,
hillside ordinance come from?
it came from somewhere and it was well thought
It
out.
was copied and pasted from another town. It didn't get well thought out.
It's well thought out. We
We spent
incorporated,
hundreds of hours in that.
we incorporated it into here, Mr.
This is
Campbell.
what we're talking about
Right
right here, is we're talking about recreation possibilities. So if you eliminate this stair one we're talking about, and you look at all that ditch line that we looked at, all the way around that hillside.
I don't want them to carve that ditch
No
either.
one can touch that ditch even, no one should even be in there to improve it at all.
That's right, it's historic.
Okay, can we get away from Firelight for just a minute? Because Firelight
I'm
isn't,
talking about any developed.
no, hang on. I'm just saying,
If you open this up, if you open this up, everybody will jump on the bandwagon. And then it'll be out of control. And then you'll change it again because it didn't fit what they wanted, and you'll change it again because it didn't fit what they wanted. If you don't stand your ground, you'll lose your landscape. You have beautiful landscape around here. You'll lose it. So you want to become a tourist destination is what they want it to be. And here you are discouraging the tourist destination right here in your general plan. And you're supporting your general plan is supporting your hillside ordinance. So I don't even know why we're having a conversation.
So let me
Ben
ask you-
explained it, there was no exceptions out there, and then everybody changed their mind and, yeah, we can do this because this is a great idea. We'll walk here and have fun.
Well, the reason we're here is to have a discussion about it, right?
I'm having a discussion. You guys don't want to hear
So
it.
you came in the very end of it.
That's right.
So let me ask you a question. If there's a hillside that's 15%, right, doesn't matter where it's at in the city.
That's, I guess it's doable. Yeah, I guess so.
Can't touch it, right?
Is this 15%?
Yeah.
Can you touch it or can you not? What's the ordinance say?
It depends on what you're doing.
It's 30%. You can't touch anything over 30%. 30% and plus, that's over 30%.
There's only 23 feet of it over 30%.
It doesn't matter if it's 5 feet.
Okay, so maybe maybe the end result is if it's over 30%, it's unbuildable. And then we're still within our ordinance, right?
You're trying to manipulate the ordinance. If it's 30%, I don't care if the last foot is 30%, because there's the lava cap up there. You go destroying that, and you really got an ugly mess, Joey, an ugly mess. If they can go around the other side?
when you're done, can you raise your hand so somebody else can talk?
No.
I'm just saying, when you do.
Yeah, this is the problem. You will never let me speak my piece. I was quite agitated out there at that meeting because y'all jumped on it so fast at how we can change this ordinance without, Todd didn't know about it. Whoever else wouldn't hear about it. Every one of you did that. Without coming here and discussing, shall we discuss this first?
I purposely did not discuss it out there and I left as early as I got the information and left. So I don't appreciate that
I heard all of you
accusation.
going like this, shaking your head. We could do that. We could do this. I was just amazed because I knew it would come to this.
Okay, what you heard from me out there was, number one, I've gone through the planning that they've already done on the reservoir. The trail around the reservoir has always been part of it, which you cannot do with our hillside ordinance. So I'm just saying, it's not just that. If we want to do anything anywhere, and where that's been in that planning and nobody thought about, it's in the plan, but right now, per our ordinance, we can't do it. Right?
Well, then you shouldn't do it.
Or I let you finish, you let me finish, okay? Or if we feel it's a benefit to the citizens of the city and they've made trails an interest, do we just ignore their input as well? Because if you look at your general plan, trails are in your general plan.
Recreation.
So it's
Right.
plans.
Right.
So do you?
So you've got to look at it on a case-by-case basis for each trail.
Because a case-by-case basis will end up that every developer comes in there, man, that hill's good, I want to build something on it, and then you're stuck with it.
Well,
How are you going to adapt to that?
But that's what I just brought up. I don't want to see them plowing through different things that we want to stay there. I don't want them seeing plowing through formations that we don't want taken out. That's why you've got to look at it on each case.
I'm looking at that formation, has anybody walked up on?
You're stuck on Firelight. I'm not talking about Firelight.
I said, any developer. Have anybody walked up there and looked at that? Did you take a look at just how it was? And I says, man, it'd be nice if you could steer around this tree and not take that out and this out. If you just look around, it's like the county designating that out there for low-income housing and putting housing on the west side, 100 feet from the road, 35 feet tall. I went out there and put telescopic 35 footers, went by the highway in 6 spots. You could never see any more of that red, none of that beauty, nothing. So the more we destroy the sensitive lands because we cave into anybody, even ourselves, I think there's other alternatives. The trail can go around the bottom, it can follow their future road up, and it can go around the top, it can come back off, it doesn't have to go up that. That's my opinion. Because you'll lose what grip you have on Tocqueville and any of its sensitive land left over if you change this in one iota. That's my opinion. I just don't think you ought to even make exceptions for this one, exceptions for that one, because I've seen it happen.
I think you're throwing out the door a great recreation opportunity.
There's ways to get up that hill.
And land that you're never going to touch again. And I'm not talking about that hill. I think that hill has about an 80% chance of not making it through the hillside review board if we put the proper people on there with the engineers. And I brought that up. There's a sand pocket right 500 feet away from that. And that sand pocket could be right there and there. And then once you disturb that sand pocket, that's over. You're done. Right? And that person's going to have to reclaim that somehow to make it look like not a scar. That particular one is it's really hard to go up there. When you look around the rest of this city, you have hundreds of acres. Look at the hill over here that they want to put the trail on. You can't build them trails through there. And they're all within that 30, they're all less than 30%.
Okay.
Well,
They're gonna build a road up on this particular spot, and they're gonna put homes up there.
You're still over here, right?
Okay.
And I'm still going
out
up
here that they're gonna do the same thing, that you can get up on that hill that's less than 30%.
I'm going back to the same thing of how tight you write the ordinance, what exceptions there can be, what review it's got to be, and what they can't disturb and what they have to restore. And do it on a case by case and look at each one. And if it's going to cause too much impact, we can just say no.
How do you restore?
I don't know what trail we're even talking about, because there is no trail before us right now.
Well, we all know what we're talking about.
No, I'm talking about a different one than you are, and I can't get you off the other one.
Well,
so
which one you want to be on? I seen you out there at that one.
Well, that's because we were invited out there, Wayne. I've also gone out and toured around the reservoir.
Yeah, the reservoir can have a trail around it, and it doesn't have to go where you think it's got to go.
Okay.
These other cities have adapted to this, and they're uniquely placed their trails. And yeah, sometimes they have to go through subdivisions to get around and stay close down by the river, and you don't see them climbing up these giant hills.
There is no way in our hillside ordinance right now that you can build a trail from 10% to 30%. So if we stay in between 10% and 30%, we're making an exception to work in these areas in between 10 and 30, right? Just like you would build a road in that hillside ordinance. So if you want to build a road in the hillside ordinance, you've got different specifications from 10 to 20, 20 to 30, and 30 is excluded. So how do you build the trails? You can't build it to the road standards. What we're doing is building an exemption, or not an exemption, a way that you could build a trail in a hillside ordinance the same way you would build a road. We're not talking about exceeding 30%. That's why I said if we do exceed 30%, it can only be 1% of the trail or 2% of the trail, whatever we come up with, right? We're the ones that are going to.
Whatever hill you want to climb, you're going to exceed the 30%.
Well, okay, so maybe that's part of it. You can't exceed the 30%, but how do you build it from 10 to 30?
You don't build it.
Why not? Well, you can go build a road, but you can't build a trail.
You can't build a road on 30.
I'm talking between 10 and 30.
Okay, gentlemen, we've got one decision to make right now, and is, do we want to give staff direction to go with the planning commission to at least draft something that we can look at and vote on and reject if we would like to down the road, or do we not? That's where we're at.
I'm for looking at it. I think there's maybe more benefits to recreation, and I think it's going to have less impact than a road would have on the percentage of slopes too.
And I'm not for it, because I think they're going to tear up more sensitive lands than you realize you're going to tear up.
Okay.
And then you're all going to hate it. Your future generations are not going to like it.
Okay.
I have a concern that we've already lost a lot of walking trails because of all the development. And I think that adding more areas in town where we could have walking trails may be beneficial to the public, not to the developer, but to the public, especially around the reservoir. I think that would be very beneficial for, and we have, as we discussed our strategic plan, we also the health and fitness of our community came up as one of our priorities. So I think that and the general plan both call for recreational opportunities. And I think it's worth further discussion, and I appreciate that this discussion should be held here and that we're hearing each other right now, so. I think it's worthwhile to have something drafted
If there was something.
with an
that was-
exception. Go ahead.
If it was less than 30%, then we're good with it.
You know, it all depends on your sensitive land. You have to look at each piece together.
That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
No, I've
Yeah,
looked at that
case
piece,
by
I've looked
case.
at pieces over here, I've looked at out there. I've looked at a lot of these. I spent the last week looking at everything that could possibly have a dang trail on it.
Until it comes before us, we haven't looked at any of it.
The possibilities, you're gonna have some come before your next meeting.
Okay.
In some of these areas. I just think you need to be very careful, very, very careful what you open up.
Okay.
Because you open it up for one, you open it up for all.
All right, let's let this side of the table talk for a minute too.
That's what.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we need more trails.
Well,
I
definitely.
think we don't have hardly any trails. And I know that Firelight's going to provide some of those, which is great. But we need some down here too, in the valley. I think we need to look at it. I think we need to be open to it and see what happens. I mean, we can at least draft something and then take a look at it, see if we like it.
They're not saying we have to vote yes on it.
Right, right.
We had a master trail plan, didn't we? If we still do.
Go ahead, Todd.
Yeah, I mean, since I've been on the council, that's been one of the things that I thought was important, and that it's been expressed from a lot of the residents, that it's important that if there was a way we could interconnect the entire communities with trails, so you could walk throughout the Tokerville without having to hit a street or a road or
Yeah.
traffic or anything
Yeah.
like that. So I think it's definitely worth exploring, number one. And then number two, I think we just, as the staff is exploring, I think that they could dive into the hillside, what's it called? The hillside review board also. And what would be a plan for that?
Do you guys have enough information?
So to summarize, it sounds like you want a draft of an ordinance that would allow for these trails potentially in any area 0 to 30% grade with some sort of like cap or parameters around portions of the trail that are in the 30% grade. So maybe a width cap or something. And then you want us to adjust the hillside review board, match maybe what's typical for a different city, what seems to make the most sense.
And
from the staff's
make sure, I guess, get the conditions in for the sensitive areas and restrictions where they cannot. I mean, things that besides just the grade could impact
That
them
makes
not being
sense.
able to do work.
Okay.
And a mention of reclamation of
Right.
the surrounding area.
Okay.
You can't reclamate. You can't reclamate natural ground once you disturb it. Never, never, never. Look at St. George, look at Ivan, look at all that.
You can make a plan in some, but not, you'll never reclaim it.
You'll always see it.
But, yeah,
You can still make an effort
it's gotta be.
and you can
gotta-
request an
You
effort.
gotta make an A+ effort.
All right.
Right.
Let's move on, since we moved on that one. Item H2, discussion on increases to the wholesale water rates and potential classified water rates.
Yeah, this is an issue that has come up. You'll remember from Zach's presentation, that green-blue chart of how much water we're purchasing from the district. It's currently didn't even register on this chart that we purchased any water. However, with Anderson Junction developing out there, Sapp Brothers, Settlers Junction, these areas, it wouldn't surprise me if that was some old data, because we actually are purchasing wholesale water now at this point. Whether it's material relative to the Springs water is a question, but as we see rate increases in the wholesale water rates, we don't have a mechanism to capture those costs. So basically, the entire water system is subsidizing the increase in water rates. So they increased wholesale water rates from $1.92 to $2.03 per 1,000 gallons. That was done back in March. I think it's important that we distinguish between this Anderson Junction water system and the Tokerville water system. So Tokerville is fed exclusively by Springs water at this point. State statute does allow for a classified water rate structure, and which we currently have. We have a different rate structure for commercial entities versus residential entities. Our commercial rate is quite aggressive. It's not based on meter size, the base rate. A lot of communities have a base rate based on your meter size, how much water you could potentially draw. But the tiered system is actually is where it gets aggressive. So those users, Settlers Junction and Sapp Brothers, are paying, once they exceed 20,000 gallons, which in a commercial enterprise happens pretty early, they're paying $15 per 1,000 gallons. So we are buying the water for $2 per 1,000, selling it retail for $15 per 1,000. And so when I asked this, when this thought occurred to me, hey, they increased their wholesale water rates. Does that mean that we need to increase our water rates? And in order to stay proportionally the same, you would have to do that, right? We would have to increase in order to maintain that level. But perhaps the question to ask ourselves at this point is one system subsidizing the other, or is one classified user subsidizing the other? I would say, we have more costs than just buying the water wholesale. We have transmission costs. We have staff that we're paying, to work on that system. We've got infrastructure replacement in the future. So I'm not saying that differential between $2 per 1,000 and $15 per 1,000 is all just straight to the water fund balance. That's not true. But it is a question that we should be asking ourselves. And so I will say that when we have this conversation, it also raises the question, this is something that we've talked about before, as to whether or not it makes sense to consider a classified rate structure based on region. And the idea behind this is that the historic area of Tokerville and that water system is really a different water system than is going out on the Tokerville Parkway and in Anderson Junction. And does it make sense to further classify the water rates based on which water system is buying wholesale water and which is using spring water? So I would say I've identified essentially three options for the city council to consider. First would be simply no action in the near future, at least until we talk about it in a future strategic planning session. And this acknowledges that the current classified rate structure in the commercial system more than covers the cost of that wholesale water rate increase. So that would be a reason for no action. A second option would be that we do a small rate adjustment to cover that increased cost of the small increase from the Conservancy District's wholesale water rate increase. So we could do a small rate increase just to cover that cost. The third and final option would be a wholesale evaluation of the water rate structure, including looking at regional classifications and future development areas such as Firelight and Indigo and that sort of thing. I would say that is something that I think is worth doing. Whether or not this is the right time to do it, it's not within our strategic plan. I have significant concerns about staff capacity to undertake something like that, the cost to do it, whether right now is the right time to do it. And really, if the public and the city council even have the appetite to do something like that right now, where you're already considering property tax and sales tax and stormwater rate adjustments. We kind of already have a lot of things happening right now. The reason that I wanted this on the agenda or requested this to be on the agenda is because it's important that we acknowledge that our wholesale water rates have increased. And it's now the question of the city councils, do you want to do anything about it? And if so, what would you like to do about it? If that makes sense.
Okay, let me ask this. If with the increase, it's not like with the increase we're going to be running at a loss, right?
Correct. Yep.
And I don't know why, if we're not having to increase to at least stay even, why we would even consider it to start with, unless we had some infrastructure plan we were trying to do down the road. Number two, on the classification, and this has been brought up a number of times, and I am adamantly against classifying different citizens in this city as different water rates. For the simple reason is, then do you want to start comparing, okay, they're on ultra conservative homes. Are we going to make the ones that are the homes in the old part of town pay more because they use more? It's not as efficient a home. To me, if you're a citizen of Tokerville, you're a citizen of Tokerville. The water we buy from the district is the water we buy from the district. I don't want to see different neighborhoods priced different rates. That's just my opinion.
Well, there's a real reality that the prices are different already. If we're buying wholesale to to supply the new residents.
Growth.
Why are the
Right.
rest of the residents absorbing the cost of the new residents?
So if any increases we're doing in the city, we're gonna look at what we need to do in that part of the city and charge that part of the city for it. If you're gonna have to do work over in Trail Ridge, are you gonna charge more for Trail Ridge because you're working over there? I'm just saying, to me, if you're a citizen in Tokerville, we're to take care of everybody. The water we buy, who knows which tap it's going out of? I know
Water
where,
source comes from is different.
Right.
Whether we're working there or not, it doesn't matter, but where we get it and how we obtain the water is definitely different. So if we're pulling it from our spring and we're having this X number of users that are on it now, and we have the capability to go, what'd you say, 113 or something?
Yeah, I get that.
So you go 113 more without affecting the water rates in the old system. That's when the new system comes online. It's now gonna start costing more money for everybody unless we pass it to the people that are using that water. So I don't know. I see it two ways. I can see it your way, I can see it, if we're gonna raise everybody in this room's rate for the people who are moving out there, that's not fair to everybody in the room.
I can see 20 years down the road, the council, because it's people from out there that are on the council going, those people downtown are a lot less efficient homes than we are. We should charge them a whole lot more money. I'm just saying, if I view it, that it's, if you live here, you pay the same thing.
No.
Well,
This part of Tokerville, the historical part of Tokerville right now that gets water should be totally different than out there, because it's not fair to all the people that's been here all the years. We have our quality spring water. We pay our rate. They're costing us more. You're wanting me to pay for them. I'm not going to pay for anybody out there. It shouldn't increase what we had. We have our system. I don't want their Cotton Well water back in here. I mean, it's not fair for everybody here. It's like, okay, we're going to take away your irrigation now and we're going to use it out here to feed these guys.
okay, let me throw you another scenario. When the commercial goes out there and all the income tax, the sales tax revenue starts coming in, our part of town doesn't have any sales tax revenue. Should we not get any of that?
That's a little different animal.
No, I'm just saying, we're treating different, you're treating different areas differently. And to me, we all benefit the same as being.
It costs different. It's a
Right.
cost difference. It's a different water. It's a complete different cost. Why do you want to burden everybody here with all the newcomers coming in? I'm not going to pay for it. Should they come pay for my water?
Well, I'm not a voting member here either, so I'm entitled to my opinion, but.
Well, so am I.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's fair to take our water away or use every bit of it, ferry it somewhere else. We should be on our own water rate. And if they got to pay $20 a gallon out there, I don't really care because that's their choice. They moved out there and they know what it is. So who all here wants to pay an increase in their water bill to support that out there is what you're asking. It is Tokerville, but it is a different structure and there's different structures everywhere. Well, different water source completely. We have a great water source. We need to protect that everywhere we can.
I think with the current question on the table of no change, a small rate adjustment or a wholesale evaluation, the wholesale evaluation should be farther down the road because there just isn't that much growth yet. I'm glad that you brought it up now. I think it should stay on our horizon for future consideration because of what Councilman Olson is saying. If there are dramatic differences, but I think right now, I don't think we need a change if we're already covering our costs.
Well said.
I agree.
Was the small rate adjustment, was that strictly for Conservancy District water? Or was that the entire city?
Yeah, so a couple different ways you could address that, right? Because we were already classifying commercial and residential users. So you could simply do an adjustment as the primary change would be to the commercial users. You could do a small adjustment to the commercial users only, or you could do it to both classified users, both residential and commercial.
Okay, so if we are talking about residential only, then the only ones that are on district water is the
handful of users
at Anderson Junction, correct?
Yeah.
So then it would just be a small rate adjustment for them and the businesses. Right now is what, no,
Ju-
item number
just-
2 is?
It would actually, we currently don't have the tool to make the adjustment for those residential users. In order to adjust any residential user, you'd have to adjust all of them. So it would, like, if you were trying to accommodate this 11 cent per 1,000 gallon increase, you'd probably just hit the commercial users.
Because right now we don't have the mechanism to do the other residential that's on the district water right now.
Correct.
Okay, just clarifying. Huh?
Probably not for a couple of years.
Okay.
Is
Just getting a clarification.
Is the new Firelight development getting water from Tokerville?
Yes.
The existing
Blue Springs.
on this thing, it's just off the Tokerville itself. We're due for probably a couple dollar increase in our water bill, aren't we? Because we haven't done that and we keep postponing that.
Yeah, I would prefer small incremental
Yeah,
versus the $55 one we had a while back because we waited too long.
I hate to say it, but we need to get that part done as soon as we could, I think.
Next year, we're going to do truth.
We'll do truth in taxation this year and
I know, the next year will be $3 or $4.
I think we have a good direction there.
Okay, thank you.
What is our direction?
Don't do anything right now.
Leave it like it is. That's your-
Not yet on this one,
Wholesale
maybe
wall.
next year for a small one.
Okay, item 3, discussion on draft ordinance 2026XX, an ordinance of Tokerville City, Utah, imposing local option sales and use tax pursuant to Utah Code Section 5912-2215.
So the reason this is on the agenda this evening for discussion is because we had a conversation with the Utah State Tax Commission, who told us about the process of implementing a new sales tax. And as we discussed in the budget presentations over the last couple of weeks, this budget does include a small, that 0.3% sales tax increase, which is part of our strategic plan objective. And again, sorry, the reason that it was on tonight is because we found that the timing of it is interesting in that in order to implement it, so we could no longer implement this sales tax effective July 1st. If we were to say, if it was on for action tonight and we adopted the ordinance tonight, it would not go into effect until October 1st. And so we're only collecting 75% of the year's possible sales tax from that. And so the kind of further we delay it, the less revenue we get, the less we could do that pavement preservation. And so I would recommend that if this is something that we consider it sooner rather than later, essentially, as part of next year's strategic plan objective. The ordinance is drafted. I actually, Emily, would you pull up the slide deck for this agenda item and go to the last slide? I think it's important that we talk about street maintenance funding, and I did put one slide on there for that. So here we have the department costs for street maintenance is $270,000. And this provides the substance of why the property tax proposal is $20,000. And that is because our Class C road revenue is $188,000. The existing transportation infrastructure is $36,000. The new proposed highway tax, and this is at 75%, we built that in knowing that we couldn't have it effective July 1st, is at $33,000. And then the property tax is $20,000. So that's how we build up to that. That's how we're paying for the streets department and pavement preservation in this budget cycle. So in order to hit that $33,000 highway tax mark, this would have to be adopted within the next couple meetings. Just wanted to answer any questions because of that, and assuming that, I mean, we don't have to vote on it tonight, but I wanted to get the ordinance in front of you so that if there was the appetite to put that in front of the council, we could do that in a coming meeting.
Who gets taxed and how?
So yeah, that's a great question. So this is a sales tax. Anytime, I'm glad you asked the question because it's an important point that I wanted to make. I always say that this is how you pass costs on to users that otherwise aren't paying into the general fund because they don't own property in Tokerville. However, that's not to say that Tokerville residents don't pay this tax. You absolutely do pay the sales tax. Anytime you make a purchase on Amazon, any online retailer, e-commerce purchases are going to do that. Anytime a used car is purchased and you go to the DMV to register your car, you're paying that sales tax at that time. However, increases the sales tax that we're collecting on through in an overnight rental. So at short-term rentals, you're charging sales tax anytime a purchase is made at a sales outlet, which we now have. Any future sales outlets, that sort of thing. So this is how it's shifting some of that, a small portion of that burden onto the other users of the roads.
And Hurricane and Lavercan already charge this.
Yes.
So we, as purchasers, pay this if we purchase things in Hurricane and Lavercan, but we don't currently pay it in Tokerville.
Correct.
So
Washington City is trying to raise theirs even more to take down their property tax burden and use sales
Yeah.
tax to replace it.
Well, and we're hoping when we get more commercial, that's exactly what we can do is lower the property tax because the commercial's coming in.
So if I order
Washington.
something on Amazon now, am I getting taxed?
Yes.
So am I gonna get double taxed?
No.
No.
No, they tax it.
By you.
Yeah, it's just stuff delivered to your house. But,
So
no, that they collect whatever our sales tax rate is.
And regional.
but they don't collect two tax rates.
No.
So I'm paying tax now on Amazon stuff I get.
Yes, you are.
Yes.
But we don't get that.
Yeah, we
Yes, we do. Our portion of it,
The
yes.
sales tax is distributed based on the
Is
number
it
of
correct?
residents you have and the points of sale.
Is it? Let's just, so are we adding 30% on top of that?
It's
Another tax?
0.3%. This would be a new tax, correct?
So currently our sales tax in Tokerville is 6.45% and it would go to 6.75.
Correct.
Which is what you pay if you go buy something in Hurricane.
And Councilman Campbell made an interesting point. Communities rely on sales tax as much as possible because you'll find through this process, if we do run both of these concurrently, sales tax and property tax, the sales tax is a vote of the council, it's a roll call vote of the council and an ordinance that's signed. The truth in taxation process is much more arduous. There's a lot of public noticing, there's mandatory hearings. That's not to say it's inappropriate, but you'll find that cities, it's uncomfortable to do truth in taxation, whereas a sales tax is quite straightforward, quite easy. Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to give an overall feeling. I came into this job and I went through the line item on 5 years worth of budgets, trying to figure out where we could cut budgets. And all I'm doing is talking about raising taxes. So it's kind of it's kind of a tough thing. Yeah. No, not still, because I'm still looking at line items on the budget and still trying to find places where we can save. But so this is a bit difficult for me to sit through these, just saying. So.
But in some sense, it's a representation of how efficient our city municipality is run.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
And lean, as opposed to.
But I feel better about
federal government.
Taxes paid mainly by other people too, but
Washington City, somebody told me, I can't remember what I was at, 80% of their sales tax comes from people from not in their city.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of retail.
We did a study on that. Yeah.
So really, if we're buying things online, instead of going down
Benefits
to
to
Washington or Hurricane or St. George, then at least some of that is staying in Tokerville.
I'm going to tell my wife that, so she'll leave me alone.
For Amazon right there.
UPS worries if they don't stop at my house. All right.
I think it's good.
So this was purely a discussion item, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Direction, if we want to think about it.
Well,
I would rather push sales tax than property tax.
I would too.
Yes.
I think it's a good
Yeah.
thing.
Yes.
Rather not have any tax. I would.
On $100, what are we paying? Another
30 cents.
30 cents.
0.50, 30 cents. Well, but we're already paying.
$6.45 and that'd be
Yeah.
$6.75 instead.
So yeah, it's just.
Yeah.
if-
We were
yeah,
paying
it's just-
6.85% in up where I came from 6 years ago, 8 or 9 years ago.
In Springdale,
So,
it's
yeah.
over 8%.
So can we change this to an action item if we chose?
Tonight, no.
Okay.
You can just give
That's the next one.
direction
All right.
to have them move forward with bringing the ordinance.
Well, we finally found something Wayne was positive over.
Let's see. Maybe I would like the, I don't know. Movie in the park, that'd be like.
Okay. Hey, well, Wayne saying we're moving on to item I. Calendar of events, Town Hall Mayor's Address, Tuesday, May 12th at Old Town Hall at 5:30 PM. That's going to be a kind of a recap on what's going on and open to the public for questions. We've got a number of the council members will be there. I believe Representative Elison's going to be there. So I hope we have a pretty good turnout for that. Memorial Day commemoration program, Saturday, May 23rd at Tokerville Cemetery, 10 a.m. I hope we have a very good turnout for that to show respect for our veterans. Summer community cleanup, Saturday and Sunday, June 6th and 7th. We'll have bins at the Center Street Park, Westfield Park, TRE Park, and Tokerville Heights. Movies at the park, Friday, June 12th at Center Street Park. We know what the movie is yet?
No.
Okay. And we need volunteers needed at Ash Creek Stream Bank cleanup, Saturday, June 13th at Center Street at 8 a.m. I would like to do that, but you scheduled it when I'm out of town.
Sorry. That'll be part of our strategic plan from this year. And we're gonna do a little bit of a test strip here type of a deal, to see how we can do in the future, because, I'm gonna go down there and we're gonna have public works guys go through, trim it all out, and then leave it for us to come in and clean up. So really all we'll need is gloves and boots.
And this is Center Street. Are we looking at doing that over at
Trail Ridge?
Trail Ridge as well? Down the road?
Down the road. Down the road. Plus we just got some other things. There's the floodway and the floodplain that you gotta stay out of and different things.
It's a mess down there though.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
But they're not using just moving the brush. We're not having.
Yeah, we're just
people
moving the
chainsaws
brush.
and
Yeah, we can't
handsaws.
get any type of machinery down in there at all.
Yeah, it's where all the stuff's wrapped around the trees and stuff. It's just horrible.
It's like the Trail Ridge one as well. The community over there did a cleanup on theirs as well. And they did a really good job. So
lessen the impact we'll have on the next one anyway, if we can get some of it cleaned out.
yeah, we'd like to do that was the whole plan there, was to do that for multiple places throughout the city.
Okay. And we do need to move into closed session. All right.
Mayor.
Closed meeting, discussion of litigation, security, property acquisition or sale, or the character and professional competence or physical or mental health of an individual if needed. So we do need one. We'll entertain a motion.
We do need a closed session.
Okay. We have a motion?
Mayor, make a motion to move into closed session to discuss litigation, security, property acquisition, or sale, or the character and or professional competence or physical or mental health of an individual.
We have a motion. We have a second.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Do a roll call. Please state your name when you say.
Joey Campbell.
Wayne Olson, I.
Jenny Chamberlain, aye.
Val Pressler, aye.
Todd Sands, aye.
Okay, we'll now move into closed session.